welcome to Game Brain. I am Matthew Robinson, and this is the 200th episode of Game Brain, a board game podcast about our gaming group.
Paul's not here.
We have been coming to you live on the air since the date March 22nd. Always live,
always recorded
on the air, going out, pumping out over the radio waves since March 22nd, 2019. Started with me as the host, then...
And the first co-host was me?
Was Tom Donnelly, who then eventually became the second host of the show. Welcome, Tom Donnelly, everybody.
Pleasure to be here. What an auspicious occasion.
Soon following Tom, we found we were very lazy.
Got desperate.
And
like, this is work.
We asked everybody if they could host, and only one person responded. That man is Trey Alston. Welcome, Trey.
Happy to be here for the bicentennial episode.
And then our numbers tragically dipped. We went down to just a few listeners, and we realized we needed a professional host to come on. And we brought in the wonderful, the only Ben Mandelker as our fourth host.
Hi, how are you? How's it going? It feels
I
great
thought you
to
were
be
leading
here.
up to Candace there.
Our numbers didn't drop. What are you talking about?
Just coming up with a reason we needed
Our
Ben.
numbers are... Do you know what our numbers are right now?
I think
45 people, and it was a privilege.
We're somewhere in between 0 people and Joe Rogan's podcast.
We are 100% the number one choice of board gaming long haul truckers. We have by far we have the longest episodes,
and the number one board gaming choice of long haul COVID survivors as well.
I have to say, it was such an honor to join this podcast. I was like, you know what? It's about time there's a podcast with a bunch of males talking about board games. And I was like, I want to be part of that.
But where's the white male voice in all of this? I'm sure you were asking. It's been a real pleasure. You know, thinking about 2019 to now, that's a long time.
Yeah,
and,
I'm not good at math, but I think that's at least 10 years.
Yeah.
Given what we went through, it does feel like that for sure.
Seems like
we kept the fires going during COVID, which is not easy considering that we weren't playing games with each other during that time.
I know. True. Yeah. I mean, we were offered the Presidential Medal of Freedom, but because of who was in the White House at the time, we said no.
Right.
Oh, you didn't get the invitation at the Kennedy Center honors for us?
No, we didn't. We didn't go that way.
We were honored right after a Joni Mitchell montage. It was great.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
So it's been 10 years since we started this podcast, and we felt like in episode 200, we just wanted to take stock. We wanted to bring in the 4 hosts that are currently the hosts of this show. Who knows what the future will bring?
Who knows?
But these are the 4 right now. And, of course, we have our lovely co-hosts, and we would have invited them all, but we only own 4. In fact, we only own 3 mics, and Ben had to bring one. So we were barely able to get 4 people around my table.
Ben Fancy. He got a fourth mic.
I got my fancy
USB only, but we figured it out.
Yeah, you know. But it is actually, by the way, this is one thing that is really cool about this podcast is that it does have like its own little ecosystem of people that come on, because I made a joke about it being like, oh, it's just a bunch of males because, you know, so many podcasts about board gaming are. But, you know, there is like this whole world of people that are on the podcast that I think is actually really cool about it. You know?
Yeah, I'd like to think we at least give you different perspectives of board gamers.
Should we cut to that clip package of the other of the co-host? Because it was like you were throwing to the clip package.
It was like the in memoriam.
Now we're going to go to that one episode where Tom told me he was pregnant.
Oh,
we all cried.
This is like
a very special episode.
This is like those episodes of the Golden Girls where they sit around the table eating cheesecake, and it goes into flashbacks to season 1.
No, we are not going to do a clip show, people. Okay, we are not going to do a clip show. We're going to talk. We're going to reminisce.
Those require a lot of editing.
You don't edit. Oh no, we're not going to do that.
No.
In fact, if one of us says something that we have to cut, we just kill the episode.
We're not going to do a clip show, but Trey is doing a chip show for us. He's eating potato chips on the podcast, in case you're hearing what that crunch noise is.
Yes. Like a pro of everyone out there with misophonia, so sorry.
We're going to figure this out by the big 300, I think. We'll
I take these away from me.
We'll have this.
To be fair, they're very
we are just going to do a normal episode, talk about things going on in our gaming group, talk about BGGCon, which Tom and Trey just returned from. But we're also going to do one special thing. We're each going to list our 3 favorite games that have been released since we started our podcast. Not necessarily games we've reviewed, although I think we probably reviewed all the games we're going to be talking about today. But we're each going to give our 3 favorite games that have come out since 2019.
I mean, you guys will do your three favorite. I will do the three best.
You'll do the three best, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, good.
Which just happens to be your three favorite too, which is incredible. You're
It's weird.
real tastemaker.
How it really lines up.
I am champing at the bit to talk about board games. I don't know about you guys. I've played a lot of games since the last
been a
we all
while.
convened.
Yeah.
So
Is that right?
I would love to talk about some games. I'm not
Jump
saying I
in.
have to start, but maybe you guys should start because you guys actually went to a con.
Tell us about it. Tell us about BGG.
We did. Trey, why don't you start since you did both?
Since I was there first.
Let's have 5
did
minutes
do
of throwing it to each other.
So it's a nice thing. I can go when BGGCon is the week before Thanksgiving. I can kind of go to Texas, visit my parents.
What is BGGCon?
It is the Board Game Geek Con that is held annually in Dallas in November. They have some spring versions too. But
There's
this
like
is-
a board game geek East or West or South or
spring.
Unplugged or
there's a
I'm
spring
thinking of
that's
PAX.
more family friendly.
Okay, got it.
Whereas I think is BGGCon 18 and up. Technically,
I think it is.
There weren't a lot of
actually, but
kids,
I'm
so
not,
I think
I'm not
maybe-
positive.
And unlike Gen Con or Essen, this is, as far as it's been pitched to me, and which is why I'm so sad I've never gone, this seems like the con where you play games, not buy games as
just
much.
board games.
Yeah.
Right, just
Yeah.
board games, yeah.
For one thing, that's
Yeah,
a big
yeah,
difference between Gen Con and
because Gen
just board
Con is
games.
essentially the same thing in that sense for the board game section of it. It's just
There's just no
There's other
open gaming really in Gen Con, as I've found out the hard way many times.
Well, it's kind of shuffled off into the side.
there's tournaments, there's events,
events.
but there isn't like just everybody
There
comes
is-
together and just plays
there
games.
is, but it's
There
in
is-
various hotels.
in
Yeah, it's like in
hotels.
hotel lobbies, and so you have to kind of leave the beaten path
a nightmare.
rather than it being the thing.
It's a nightmare if you go there with some of your best friends and they end up being busy the entire weekend and
Right.
you're alone the whole time and you have no one to play games
Well, after the party is the hotel lobby, and after the lobby is,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could be like co-host Elder and just participate in what the friends are doing and have an awesome time, a world-class
I
time.
did that. I think you would prefer if I didn't join anymore.
It was a mixed bag having Matt Robinson in the Game of Thrones 100-person LARP. There were very good things about it.
oh my goodness.
There were also some bumps and
Know thyself. Know thyself.
I got a nice hoodie out of it.
You did.
Okay,
this.
so you
In
went to
any
BGG.
This is the best con for playing board games.
Okay.
And it has a great culture
Ben,
for.
will you be the pod dad today?
I am glad, even
you
though
kinda
I am
gotta be.
drinking, I'm actually drinking an alcoholic beverage for this taping right now. I'd like to add.
I don't know what your dad's like, but that's perfectly fits my
Perfect.
my memories.
Great. So, okay, Trey, go on.
It is the best con for playing board games.
Yes.
And part of that is the culture there, which is that it's not cliquish at all. Like if you want to play a game, you can find people to play. They have these signs like looking for a teacher, looking for player.
Yeah.
Either a lot of times you go to certain cons and you're with your friends, and if some random person just came up and said, "Oh, you're playing that? Can I join?"
throw
That might feel weird.
Yeah.
At BGG Con, it's not.
We are by far the most cliquish people there.
Yeah.
That's I mean, we
I love
would-
that.
we turn people away.
I got to go, man.
This would be actually a problem for me. I'm
Really?
actually not even joking because I actually do feel like one thing that I really enjoy with board gaming with my friends is I love the banter. And if there's going to be someone I don't know whose banter is not going to be like the same kind of banter as mine, and I'm like being totally honest.
Yeah. Sure.
That's actually hard for me. And so I can imagine, I'm all for like, oh, you meet friends, all that stuff is very nice. And I'm sure if I went, I would just put myself in that mentality. But sometimes I can get protective about my social space.
Works
and
best for short casual games. A little tough to just grab a rando for a 4-hour game.
Maybe start with like
heavy Euro.
start with like the casual games.
Yeah.
If you find someone that you banter well with, you're like, okay, now let's go play.
Now let's go play the heavy
Vital
stuff,
Lacerda. Yeah.
The good thing is like I recognize enough people there. Like a lot of people from Los Angeles come out. So
Yeah.
like the people that I see at John Clare's playtesting group, slight humble brag there. Like
Yeah.
I recognize those people. They have games. You play with them. too, so
we're playing games pretty much every day and going out to dinner every other night with Candace. So
Yeah.
we're hanging out with good peeps. Friend of the pod, Mark Now, who was a guest on the pod for one episode. He's with
It
us.
sounds like
the
you really
whole
broadened
time.
your horizons, met a lot of new people.
I will say this, Matthew Robinson. When we went the last time in force before the pandemic, we wore the Game Brain shirts, and we had probably 5 or 6 people that came up and said, "Game Brain, I love you guys. That's
Right.
awesome." And
I don't know why
that
you needed
connection.
to wear the MAGA hat too, though. That was probably a step too far.
The game
You
convention.
joke.
The game convention.
You joke, but given where the
gosh.
convention
You would have
is,
probably
we're
been fine,
actually
sadly.
surrounded
We
by
are
a
in
Trump-
Dallas. We are just feet from where
Dealey Plaza.
JFK Jr. will come back from the dead.
It's gonna happen.
No joke. The last
No
time,
joke.
no joke. The last time we were there, the people that organized that whole thing
Yeah.
and were camped out.
Yeah.
The organizers stayed in our hotel. We saw
Yeah.
them, and we went to lunch at this place that had a truck outside it. That was, oh my god! It
was
had
a Trump truck.
It was
Wow.
it was a QAnon truck, is
Well-
what it was. Not a single inch of it was not covered in some amount of slogans and sayings and things like that. It was insane.
Did they join you for Arc Nova?
No, they did not. No.
They did not.
But this year, so last time we had about 6 people come up to us. This year, Trey and I found, correct me if I'm wrong, Trey, but every day people were coming up to us. Every day.
that's awesome.
Lots and lots of people were like, "Game Brain, love you guys." We played.
Were you wearing the shirts?
Yeah, I have.
I know. I was wondering if we moved past the needing a shirt phase of celebrity.
On our
No.
podcast,
Yeah.
because our faces are everywhere.
Yeah, well, you know.
I have
People
four.
stalk.
I have 4 shirts. The con is 4 days. I wore 4. I wore it every day. Sometimes I would wear a shirt over
You'd
it.
wear 4 the first day, then you'd shed one for the next
Just
day.
pull it off in front of everybody. I wore I was cold one morning, and so I wore something over it, and so you couldn't see what it was. And a guy said, "I think I recognize your voice. Are you
Wow, look at that.
Game Brain."
Are you Tom Vassell?
Yeah, exactly. Are you Efka? No, I don't even have an accent. What are you talking about? Like, sorry, I don't know
I have
anything
to
about this
say,
hobby.
it is.
Here's the problem with T. Mocker.
I have to say,
Was that your
it's-
Tom Vassell?
Yeah, it was
that
Tom
was
Vassell.
weird. That was. I
Was
don't
it-
know.
nothing-
You
nothing-
just do your
Actually,
own
it's not
voice.
terrible.
It's fine.
I don't think it was terrible.
I don't know if I've ever tried to impersonate another content creator.
Well,
I don't know if
on
I'm
our
gonna
200th
start.
episode,
That sounded-
we're gonna imitate all of them.
Yeah.
I don't know if I even can. But I will say it actually, obviously, this is building off your point. It has been really, since we're having this reflective 200th episode, it has actually been really nice getting messages here and there, about like Love Game Brain or whatever. I really enjoy that. And I especially enjoy actually the people who are like crossover from my other podcast, Watch What Crappens, who appreciate Game Brain, or people I get response.
It wasn't even a subtle plug.
Not
No.
subtle. Not subtle.
Hey, wait, Ben. I'm sorry. I must have missed it. What's the name of the other podcast?
The other
that you do?
podcast is called Watch What Crappens. It's available on all
He
platforms.
does not need our listener base.
No, but in all honesty,
Our listener.
We are closing in on him.
what it has been very cool has been the people who are listeners of Watch What Crappens who then say, "Oh, but since I know like board games and everything, I got my husband into listening to Game Brain or things like
I
that."
See. We're the gateway drug.
Gateway. And some people have actually come up to me. There have been 1 or 2 people have come up to me at live shows for Crappens who have said, like, "I know you love board games, so I went to a board game shop, which was very scary for me because it was very strange in there." And I asked them,
It is.
"What do I get What do I get someone who loves board games?" And people will give me little games sometimes,
That's
and I actually
cute.
think it's incredibly cool that people.
I don't know why you throw them right in the trash because they're garbage, but like you could just gift them to somebody who needs, like, I know you won't play Munchkin, but
is-
someone will.
But
No,
it's
it
been
is
really
awesome
cool
that
It's been cool to see that cross pollination.
Yeah, because the Venn diagram of our show and your show has
It's 4 women's husbands.
it is
It's pretty small.
it is 2 circles completely separate with just the edge touching.
I tried to move it forward, but I don't know. Did I ever tell you this? That I engineered a giveaway of Castel, the board game Castel,
You did
at one of
mention
our
that.
live shows, and I was like, "This will generate interest in board games amongst Real Housewives listeners." Didn't really work, but it was fun. Anyway,
Did someone
love
say
that
giveaway?
I love that Ronnie let you do that. Go ahead, giveaway.
I had no idea what was going on.
Well, for our lovely 200th episode, we actually have a gift for you, the listener out there. We have been graciously given a copy to gift to our listeners of a wonderful game, a game that we like. I believe we reviewed it on this podcast yet, or we just talked about it?
We have only talked about it so far.
The game is Soul: Last Days of a Star.
Oh, wait, we did review it. Of course,
I'm pretty sure we did.
Of course, I reviewed it.
You reviewed
Yes,
it. We
yes.
like this game a lot.
Love this game.
This game's great.
This game is one of the weirdest, most different games of anything
100%.
in the collection. And every time I bring it out, it's like, what the heck is this? This is really interesting.
Yeah.
We love this game. We love games that play strangely and differently from other games. It's
Yes.
rare we bring a game to the table and go, all right, I can't compare this to anything. Listen up. This is a brand new teach. You've never played anything like this. And that's an awesome experience. Soul: Last Day of a Star from Elephant Laboratories. One of the lovely people who works at Elephant Laboratories reached out and said how much they love the podcast and wanted to make sure that we had gotten our Kickstarter copies soon, and where they were, and I told this person that we were absolutely, many of us had backed the game and were excited for it. It's shipping very soon to backers, and they, so kind of them, offered a copy to give out to our listeners for our 200th episode. So, is this a contest? I don't know. Technically, potentially, but what we are going to do is ask people to email us
Yep.
with a single story.
Yeah.
A paragraph, if you will.
About why Twilight Imperium 4 is the worst thing to happen to the board game hobby.
No.
Or the best thing.
We want to know about
Nice
your favorite around the table board gaming experience that you've had
Yes.
since this podcast started. Since the year 2019. Something that's happened in the last 4 years that you have had that is a memorable gaming experience. Email us at contact@gamebrainpod.com. And let's keep it short. A couple paragraphs. So something we could read out. That's not a
I would
novel.
say one paragraph because
One
two
paragraph
paragraphs
is
long
good
on a podcast.
You're right. You're right. Thank
one
you, Ben.
paragraph.
That's
One
why he's
paragraph.
here. He's a professional.
At one paragraph, we will read most of them.
Yeah.
We'll
we
read.
will
We'll read.
run it through AI
No,
check.
We will.
We did way back in the day. We did a contest. We did a picture contest and stuff like that. And we read all of them, and they were fantastic, absolutely fantastic. We were blown away by it. So we're looking forward to this as well.
So email us at contact@gamebrainpod.com. I'm going to give this until, let's say, the first week of the new year. Let's give this.
Really?
You think less? What do you
No,
think?
I think that's right.
Or should we just
That
say?
sounds- no,
should
that
we
sounds
just
good.
say it has to be in by New Year's? Should we
Yes,
just say
correct.
that?
Yes.
Okay, you got to have it in by the 31st at midnight.
I'm also gonna make an amendment,
Yeah.
Please.
which is that when you write your email, please put in the subject Game Brain Contests, because that way, when it comes time to look for submissions, it'll
Thank
be
you.
easy for us to find it. And if you don't put in that subject, you are not guaranteed to be part of this contest.
And also,
we hate having to sort through all the death threats to get to the to the contest.
and
all the fan letters.
The last thing, which is also very important, make sure that you write your email within the body of the email you send us, because it's being sent from a web page, not your email. You don't know how many emails I get from people that just say, "I have a question for you. Please get back to me."
And we have
I
no
don't
way of-
know.
no
All
way
you
of
gave
getting
me was
back.
the name Brian. I can't. I can't find you, Brian. You gotta tell us your email in the body of the email, because we didn't ask you for your email.
Subject line, email, one paragraph. You have until December 31st. Get going.
We'll pick our favorite, and then the lovely people at Elephant Laboratories, thank you very much, Zach, for reaching out to me, will personally send you a brand new Kickstarter reprint. I think there's a lovely new insert in there. It's the same game as the 2017
it's
version.
schmancier, though.
But it's
Yeah.
a little schmancier. It's brand new. This game has been if you wanted to get this until right now, it's been like hundreds on eBay. I think I saw it for like
super hard to find,
$250,
yeah.
$300, and now it's going to be back available, and that's awesome because it's a great game.
When people come into the office to play a game with me for their first time,
Yeah.
and they go into the back room, I love to watch what they look at when they go over the walls and looking at the stuff, because you can always tell a lot. And I remember vividly Ben's first time there and what he was picking out. He was like, "Ooh, Indonesia," and he was like, and you were like, you were pointing at all these games, and I was like, "This is a guy that knows his stuff. This is a guy that knows his stuff." Candace, her first time in, the first game she mentioned was Soul. She goes, "Soul? I don't know anybody that has that."
it's hard to get.
She was like, "Oh," and I was like, "Okay, this girl knows what she's doing. This is awesome."
Soul was a game that I had wanted for years and years, and I thought when it was in stock, I was like, it was in like I should get this, and I didn't get it, and then it went out of stock, and I was like, damn it, I missed it, and then I missed the Kickstarter, so I'm like,
You missed the Kickstarter too? Well,
so I'm a disaster, but
you can
anyway,
enter the contest, Ben.
Ben, write a paragraph.
Trey, so that wraps up your BGG experience, right? Okay, thanks so much. Thanks so much for sharing about your
Let's
con.
talk about all the fun games you played. Tell us about the experience that you had.
Well, start with tabletop.
We should have video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The look of frustration. Okay, so first off, if you're listening to this podcast, you would love BGGCon. Because you're just playing board games, and one of the highlights is you get to play new stuff. They bring in games from Essen.
Yeah.
That's the hot games room. I'm going to talk about some of the ones we saw there. But another reason to go, at least for me and maybe some people out there too, is in the 2 days before the con, they have something called Tabletop Network, which was put together by Tim Fowers and Jeff Engelstein, which brings together designers and aspiring designers to talk about game design.
Tim Fowers, you will know from Paperback, Burgle Bros, games like that. I think Now Boarding was one of his. Yes. Mm-hmm. So games like that.
Right. I mean, he's living the dream. He's making a living as a designer. His games are great. I've known him for a long time from playtesting here in Southern California when he was first getting started. But they have designer. We had some great presentations from Tim, Matt Leacock, Martin Wallace. James Ernest. And you really actually get to spend time with designers and talk to them, and they will maybe play test your games. And we had interesting discussions about various topics.
James Ernest had an hour and a half to spend. There were 6 of us at the table. He said, "What should we play?" I said, "Have you ever played Show Manager?" He had never played Show Manager. Ooh. We had a blast playing Show Manager with James Ernest. James Ernest, by the way, did Kill Dr. Lucky. He was the original cheap-ass games guy. The reason I never buy inserts is mostly Lords of Vegas.
Lords of Vegas?
Yes, he did. Yeah,
love Lords of Vegas.
He's a fun guy.
You get to rub elbows. That's the phrase I'm looking for. That's the
shoulders.
You get to rub shoulders, rub elbows with some of the great designers of our time.
I just breezed over Martin Wallace there, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, we shouldn't because we're coming back to Martin Wallace.
Yeah.
He's coming back.
It was the con of Martin Wallace.
It was a Martin Wallace con.
Yeah.
All right. Trey bribed him with a bottle of whiskey.
Bottle of scotch.
Ooh, wow.
That's a form of whiskey.
Bottle of red.
Bottle of red. I'm
Bottle
putting
of
my
Beam,
hand.
though.
That's a form of whiskey. We became buds with. I think I just can call him Marty now because I did.
You did call him Marty.
I just kept calling him Marty.
With great power comes great responsibility.
We got to play test
Daimyo.
Which is that not related to the other? Wasn't there a game called Daimyo a year ago?
Sold it. Yeah.
Yes,
I hope it's not that one.
I don't believe it is. No.
Okay.
This is kind of a sequel to Struggle of Empires.
It's a little bit like Struggle of Empires in many ways. It's you are representing a faction that is a clan that is fighting for control of Japan during the feudal era, and much like Struggle of Empires, you're bidding for which alliance you are going to be in, and you can only attack the people in the other alliance. Unlike Struggle of Empires, there is a betrayal mechanism whereby you can choose whether or not you're going to come to the aid of the clans that are in your alliance or not. So some very interesting things. We had a very interesting play test of it. That was kind of okay. So here's the deal.
It's called Daimyo Battle for Japan.
There you go.
An expansive historical samurai deck building game inspired by Shogun Total War.
There you go. So Martin Wallace is a famously crusty man. He is picture Trey in 20 years. He is just going to be one of those. He is one of those guys that is always talking.
Dead?
Martin Wallace? Brutal. No. So here's the thing. What he was playtesting.
I'm loving this dynamic.
He's on Jenny's urn?
Oh, brutal. He brought out this copy to playtest with us, but it wasn't his playtest copy. It was a copy that the publishers sent him that he hadn't looked at yet.
Oh, okay.
And they had made changes to the game. So as he's trying to explain the game to us, we keep coming up against all these things that we don't have that, and where is this, and what is that?
I have to get the laugh out because I watched Trey break a chip in half and then eat it as if that was going to make it any quieter to have broken it in half.
He can't stop eating the chips, and it's the funniest.
Why do you think I'm talking over this? I'm just trying to keep this thing on the rails here.
I'm the one. I'm the problem.
A little bit.
I'm the problem.
Like a little bit.
anti-hero.
Like a
No,
little
it
bit.
was just a funny concept. Like if you break it in half and then eat it, it'll be quieter.
Really
So-
wasn't thinking anything of the sort.
So it's 9 a.m. and we're an hour into what's supposed to be the teach and play test of the game, and we're still trying to get to terms with what the game is because nothing is working right. Like things have been changed that Martin wasn't aware of.
Right.
And
He's not listed as the only designer of it, so other people probably.
Sure. He's getting a little flustered, and so I decide, hey, let's just have some fun with this. Right? And so I start calling him Marty. And I said, don't worry, Marty. Marty, it's okay. Don't worry, baby. It's okay.
Yeah, he gave him some Zerberts,
Oh, my God. And
some Noogies.
I remember the very first game he ever designed and said, have you done a lot? Because the only game I know of yours is, and I named the very first game he ever designed. Is this going to be like that?
And he said,
Was it the
"Get
one
me
with the
hell
frog?
out of
Didn't he
this
do
room."
a game with the frog? No, that he had a company called the Frog something.
Tree Frog.
Tree Frog, yeah.
Tree Frog games, and then War Frog games as well.
Right.
So anyway, giving them just guff constantly. There's five of us, so it is Mark now, Candace, me, Trey, and this other person.
Mm-hmm.
And the other person was laughing so hard because he was like, "Oh my God, what are these guys doing? They're like just they're
They're
taking
burning our bridge with Martin
like
Wallace.
a little bit."
So much guff.
We actually it was kind of a fun time in terms of how a train wreck might go, to the point where he would explain a rule or a mechanism, and somebody might not like the mechanism.
I just have to say
Go,
that
just go for
I
it.
have to
Just go for it.
Go
Just go
for it, Tom. Go for it.
Trey said, and I quote, 10 minutes into the teach of the game, he goes, "Really? That's the mechanism?
No, it's not.
This is where I quit the game.
Oh, you said it to Martin Wallace.
100%.
You know what? Good for you. Good for you.
100%. Said it.
As a playtest note, this is the point in which I quit the game. It was an auction in which everybody's bidding a ton of money.
Oh yeah.
And when you don't win the auction, you lose all your money anyway.
Did you tell him about the time you had a similar reaction to his other design, Railways of the World?
Was it Railways?
Yes.
Where you almost quit in the opening auction there.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
It's okay. We told him. Oh no, Trey quits games 10 minutes into the
I'm
teach
consistent.
all the time. This is a very
He
common
hated
thing.
brass too, don't worry.
And once that happened, and we came back down off of that ledge and kept on going with the teach, we were like, okay, let's just have some fun. So he'll teach a mechanism, and I'll say, oh, just like Ticket to Ride. And he just looks at you. He's trying to figure out what do I do? How do I
Trey,
answer
is this reliving trauma for
you guys
you?
bully-
Not at all. It was what
bullied Martin Wallace.
The proper context is
like
that
a
actually
little bit.
I was quite friendly with Martin Wallace because he had been at Tabletop Network and we had gotten drinks a number of times, and he had told me I was full of it a number of times, maybe not even realizing he was talking about something that I had done. So that was, he drew First Blood.
Okay.
And it was friendly. So it's not like he was aghast.
He's
Yeah.
British.
Like, that's
British
the thing,
people
like-
can handle that.
Absolutely.
Martin Wallace
He's crusty. He can take it.
Martin Wallace is
He doesn't care what you think.
He is a mean girl. And mean girls respond very well to other mean girls. So we just mean girled him.
Yeah,
And
you're
we
a
had
regular Regina George.
We had a really fun. Yes. You still can't sit with us. No, 100%. We had a great time playing a round of that game. What else? So let's talk about some of the games we played. Rats of Wistar was one of the very first games that we played. We played it with, it was the three of us and one new person named, was it Philip? Anyway.
I wasn't there.
That's
Oh,
the
that's right,
new.
you were
That's the one I missed.
That's the new Simone Luciani game.
Yes.
Right.
It is very good. It is fun. Ooh. It is interesting. It does not feel like a Simone Luciani game. I kind of am calling this year the year of the very good, in the sense that there is, like, with one possible exception, there is nothing that has hit me this year where I'd be like, oh my God, that is so amazing. I haven't fallen in love.
Strong disagree. Wow.
That's me. But I have not fallen in love with anything, but I've liked a whole bunch of things, like, very much. Like I can name 8 games this year that are unimpeachably good. Like, I don't really have any criticism of them whatsoever, except that I didn't fall in love with them. Ooh. That's it. Okay. That's it. Rats of Wistar is one of those things. You play super intelligent rats that are.
I keep thinking you're saying Ratso Rizzo. Rats of
Wistar.
Now, that's the board game that I'd be interested in.
Wistar.
That's a result.
You are rats that are sneaking into a house and exploring that house. So it's got
It's like fantasy rats. Like what's the
It's like Secret of Nim rats.
No,
But
it's-
everybody
it's-
says no, it's not. But it's intelligent rats, right?
Okay.
Yeah, but there's
have
no
swords?
there's no magic. There's no swords.
There's no swords?
No,
Okay.
no.
Nice
What they
mystics.
do is you have invention cards. So you invent these contraptions and things using
As you do, as a
using
rat.
household object, like a super intelligent rat. There's a interesting rondel action space where you're choosing your king rats and where they're going to go and what actions they're going to unlock.
Yep.
You have a body of other rats, and which half or third of the wheel they're on dictates the power of those actions. So there's a very interesting worker management aspect to the game. But there is a lot of going, exploring a space, flipping over the tiles, seeing what's there, and sometimes not being happy with what you find. So, so not as deep as some of his other
This
games.
is coming. Capstone is going to be releasing this domestically in February. It's on their website for pre-order right now. Are you going to be pre-ordering Rats of
Yes,
Wistar
I am
from
going to be.
Capstone?
I am going to be.
They're going to get your $60.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting game. I'm not sure it's gonna last forever for me, but I enjoy it very much, and I would like to play a lot more of it. I think it's really interesting.
Can you make a rat king in the game? You said there were king rats, but can you make a rat king? Do you know about rat kings?
I do know about Rat Kings. That's
disgusting.
horrifying.
But they're not with. But no one's ever seen one, right? They're not actually real.
No, they are real, 100%.
real?
Yeah, don't Google it. But Simone Luciani designed this with Danilo Sabia. He did not do this alone.
Yep.
And they've actually done a game already together, which was Anunnaki: Dawn of the Gods, which I believe is famously the game that was on Kickstarter, and then they pulled off Kickstarter, and then maybe went back on Kickstarter. So I have not played that yet.
Yeah. Don't go in looking for a Simone Luciani game. Don't look for the Mad Italians.
What makes it
in terms
not
of
a
design.
Simone Luciani game to you?
I think the exploration mechanisms of it feels a little more middleweight. It maybe the different aspects of it.
It's more like Ameritrashy?
Not really Ameritrashy, but in the sense that you are going. So here's the thing. You take an explore action. You have a certain number of explore points based on how many of your fellow rats are in that one little section where when you activate it. One rat point will open a door. One rat point will move your explorer rat into another section.
Okay.
One rat point will flip over a tile that's in there and reveal what they find in that room. A little bit. And listen, there's always a Scooby snack, so it's still so even though my third rat point is just showing what's in that room. Other people can then go into that room and do what that room can do. I can't do that because I've already used all my points. But the act of flipping it, the act of opening that door, you're getting a little reward. You're getting a little this, a little that, and a little thing like that. It just doesn't feel. It doesn't feel as meaty as a lot of their other games.
Okay.
So, but
still getting your money though. You're
100%.
You're gonna get okay.
No, I think it's a very interesting game. The person
It is gorgeous.
Yeah,
It's gorgeous.
Trey has
I know what Tom is saying about like the year of the very good, because I think I came away from this of like there are some very good games from this year. I think I'm still got an open mind, as unlikely as that seems for me, that I could fall in love with any of these other three. And because
The other three meaning games you're about to say.
games I'm about to mention,
Okay,
then we can probably go into more detail here. But I think this group has played Cut and Horror. I think that's very good. That might be love for me. Like that's
Pretty cool.
interesting.
Yeah, I'm
Could
right
this
there
be
with
love?
you. I'm right there with you.
Couldn't Horror for me is the closest to reaching the next level for me too. Yeah.
So Check Games was there. They had a booth. People had copies of that, so that was something that everybody could play. Like we started off with a 2-player. I've now played 4-player a couple of times. There's some really interesting stuff there. Like whether it'll actually be like a top 20 game at the end, but like it's very good.
Well, that's a good
even
sign
if
if you're
it's-
considering it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's say because even if it's not a top 20 game, that's okay too. It's still
No. It's still very, very
It's a
good.
very-
It's
It
a
is-
top 100 guaranteed.
It is literally like a very, very good game, and I think
I've thought
it's
a
great.
lot about it.
Actually, I think it's great. I would say it's great.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's. I find myself thinking about it, especially like the market system in the game. I think it's like nothing I've seen.
It's smart. It's clean.
before.
It's just it really is.
There's some interesting dynamics with the other players while you're playing it. It's still like good strategies completely eluding me, which is interesting. did fine in the game yesterday, but it's not like some games is like, okay, I know what to do now. It feels there's some weird.
It's so
push and
clean.
pull.
It's so clean. Like,
Do we
I think
need to say what this is for people?
sure.
Matt, you have if you want to pull
Check
up the
game
stats
edition.
on it. So
Tell
check
you all
games
about Cut
edition,
No Horror.
but the idea is that this is Cut No Horror. It's what is it, City of Silver.
It's an
Yeah,
actual
called
city.
Cut No Horror, the City of Silver, which is an actual city in Czechoslovakia, I believe, right? Am I correct on that?
That's right.
It's our second.
part of the
Czech Republic.
It's
Czech
one
Republic,
of two major Essen or Essen time games set in Bohemia. Oh no, the other one's Saxony. Sorry, apologies. Take it all back.
But this is
dare you.
Ben loves city builders. This is, I think, a city builder.
Yeah, and these are from
Builder-esque.
3 new designers. Here I take a stab at their names: Andrei Bystrun, Peter Kaslava, and Pavel Jarosz. And it is a very interesting economic. Well, I don't know if I'd call it an economic game. It is a game with a very interesting sort of 3D market in it, right?
yeah.
A dynamic market.
dynamic
that,
market.
There are like 5 different resources in the game, and as you produce more of them, like you've increased the supply of the goods. Like it's all supply side, where you increase the supply of certain goods, so you're getting income from making these goods. But when you've increased the supply, the price goes down.
Right.
As the city gets bigger, the prices go back up because there's demand. And so, like as you're both building out a city. And you can kind of score points for how you connect your buildings within the city. That's maybe like the least interesting thing about the game. But you're also like building out a mine. And so you have these like 2 different things of like how well are you developing the city as a group? How extensively have you developed the mine as a group? And then you're profiting from like what have been your specific contributions to the city in building it.
Right. I think that for me, what I have really appreciated about the game is like it's a little bit of an economic game. It's a little bit of a city builder. It's a little bit of whatever's going on in the mines. It's like a hand management game. It's sort of like a lot of little things. But this is one of those situations where some games you say, oh, it's a lot of little things, and there's no innovation. But here it feels like they took the building blocks of several different systems and wove them all together in a way that is extremely clean, and everything works very well together, and everything is like fascinating the way they work together. And I just feel like I've seen so many games that try to weave so many systems together and try to make them all work, and because they don't naturally work, there's a lot of like rules overhead to kind of make that work. And I don't mind rules overhead, but like when you can see how forced something is, it can be a little annoying. And here it just is so silky smooth that I'm just like massively
And
impressed.
it's just a touch over middleweight too. It doesn't even feel that heavy to me. Like
It doesn't take that long either.
No.
yeah,
That's
when you're learning
played
the
in 2
rules, you
hours.
think like when I learned the rules, I was like, oh, this is a heavy game. But then when you play it, it's
about 2
perfectly
hours.
middleweight.
It's a 3.3 on BGG, and I'd say that's exactly right.
Yeah, I mean those 2 card holder slider things take care of all of the economic calculations for you. You don't have to do anything, and that really reduces the rules overhead.
I'd like to see an 18xx try to use that market.
I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
It could happen.
It has this really dynamic market system, which is actually like this series of cards that's almost like an algorithm in the way that as the city grows versus how much of a certain good has been produced, it changes the prices. That's interesting. I'm sure it'll be duplicated. I want to rip it off in a design I'm thinking about. The other thing that I'm not sure I've kind of seen before is it has this guild system where there's, 6 guilds in the game? Or
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
There's 6 guilds in the game, and you are only going to be able to build buildings of 3 of those types.
Yeah.
And so nobody lines up identically. It's generally you share one of these guilds with one other players, but it creates this weird thing where like I'm never going to be able to build a tavern. I can't build beer. I can't build food, but I can mine silver and I can create permits.
Yeah.
And it creates these interesting like mini alliances or mini rivalries between players where you kind of have the opportunity to cooperate or not.
There's a really clever thing with these guilds, which is that so you, or I guess in a 2-player game, it's like you have a guild and no one else has it. But in like a 4-player game, like if Trey and I are both the people that control the wood guilds, so there are 4 wood buildings that can be built over the course of the game, and every time you build one of these buildings, you basically unlock something on your player board, which can be extremely valuable, and you also improve your income. So you are motivated to build these buildings, and you want to build them quickly because there's only 4. And if I don't build a building, Trey may build a building. That's one fewer opportunity I have to build this building and get all this important stuff off my player board. But as you build these buildings, if you sort of spam the board with these buildings so you can get all the benefits from your player board, the price of wood actually plummets because you've created a huge amount of supply of wood in this example. And so by having the price of wood plummet, it makes it easier for everyone else at the table to build buildings because wood is important for that. And your income is it has all these interesting effects. And I absolutely love a game that gives me a push-pull experience.
Yeah.
I feel that's something I feel in Iki. It's something I feel in Concordia. Praga Cap Regni, I know you guys don't love it as much as me, but that game has a lot of push-pull in it. I love games that really lean into it, and I think the no Horror does that really well.
Yeah. I mean, we'll be doing a full review of it in no time whatsoever, for sure, because it's
exciting.
Hitting the table every day, pretty much.
What was the other game that you were going to mention?
The other 2 games.
Apiary? Shall I talk about Apiary?
Yeah.
Space bees coming to your world. It is.
It's what it is.
That's what the game is. It literally is.
This is from Stonemaier Games. It's designed by Connie Vogelman. It's coming in at a weight of 2.81, plays 1 to 5 players, 60 to 90 minutes.
Medium weight game. Very, very, very middleweight. I would say that the decision space in the game is heavier than what that weight is.
Yeah, it seems low.
But the ability to understand how the game is played is fairly simple. It's got a touch of Village to it in that you have your bees. You have 4 worker bees that are essentially your player pieces, and they start off on numbers 1 or 2. And they go up to 4, and then when they hit 4, they die.
You level up your bees.
And you level up. So you're leveling up bees, and the more you level up the bees, the bigger, more important actions you can take.
Like
with
Zolkin
those,
a little.
with
Not
those
Zolkin,
bees.
Teotihuacan.
Yeah, a little bit like Teotihuacan as well. There are about 5 locations on the main board that you can place your bees. One is to build buildings on your player board. One is to use the huge mother bee to explore new worlds and unlock the benefits
space
of those
bees.
worlds.
You're exploring new worlds.
Exactly. Coming to your world.
Oh my God.
There's a song in it.
It's fine.
Dude.
So
trust me. Once you play it, you will be singing.
You're
Wallace
building out
loves
your
that.
own hive.
Yes.
You have your own individual player board hive where you're filling it out.
Space Hive!
Space hive.
See? I can't help it.
It's there.
You have an asymmetrical power with your particular hive. of
Asymmetrical
bees.
bees.
It's what it is. And you actually cycle through these bees. And over the course of the game, you'll have like 10 different bees. And when they actually level up and what do they say? They don't retire? What do they do?
Does this game have a lot of buzz?
They go
Dead bees!
They're actually dead bees are how you
There are
use
dead
your
bee
endgame
tokens.
scoring.
There are little dead bee tokens.
That's how it's like Village, right? Remember when you took the villagers and you took a plot in the cemetery?
In the good cemetery.
In this, yeah.
No, it was actually
that bee ain't never coming back.
It was in the
I
town
know
ledger.
how loud that is for people because I'm sitting across from you and it hurts.
I have the earphone. I have the headphones on. It's okay.
Okay.
We're not.
So you kill the bees, and then the bees give you points for being dead.
That ends up determining some of your end game scoring there. So
Just like in real life.
it's very snappy, which is like on your turn, you're placing a bee.
Mm-hmm.
You're either placing a bee or you're pulling all your bees back, and that's actually when you pull your bees back. Hey, we've seen this in other games. That's when all of your buildings produce.
You start off with a map that has your worlds on it that you are adding things to expand it. You can then expand those maps and make them bigger and
These are
make more
colonizer
things.
bees.
These are colonizer
That's why they're
bees.
space bees.
That's what
It's
bees
like
do.
when you have a colonization game, put it in space, so it's not offensive, I guess. That's the idea.
bees.
Is this a game you will be purchasing?
I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about it. I will say this. I had a really fun time playing it. I really enjoyed it. It's very
good.
And it's super breezy. It's like it just moves.
No, it's already. I guess it's already available. I guess you could buy it right now on Stonemaier. Wow, $70.
$70.
$70 for the space bees.
has some
That's
nice-
a lot of money for bees.
Some nice components, though.
Yeah, no, it looks gorgeous. I mean, it's Stonemaier.
I mean, Stonemaier, there's a floor. Like any game that comes up with Stonemaier is pretty good, isn't it?
Let me be clear. It just
Look good or is good?
Is good. No, you
They definitely look good.
okay?
Okay.
What Stonemaier game are you trashing here?
Well, name the last Stonemaier game that
Tapestry.
No, Tapestry's the only one I've liked. I mean, I didn't even play Expeditions.
Pendulum.
I actually
Pendulum was kind of unplayable.
I actually enjoyed Wingspan.
Charterstone.
I enjoy Wingspan.
I said the Wingspan is probably my
Wingspan
favorite
and
game that they've
Viticulture.
ever put out.
Yeah, Wingspan and Viticulture are mine from them.
This is a good Stonemaier game. I will say it 100% is a good Stonemaier game.
Okay.
I think his batting records his record is very good, actually.
Yeah, they make solid games.
We like
Totally
Libertalia.
I will tell you.
That game's fun.
Let me tell you. Let me tell you who is going to like Apiary quite a bit. Ben Mandelker.
I'm gonna like it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I 100% think that you're going to like it a lot
Well, in that case, I'm excited to try it.
because you like games with very different
Bees.
themes. You like Cosmic Frog and games like that. Like you appreciate.
I don't like Cosmic Frog.
No, I
very
know
much.
you. I know you don't. But you said when you were talked about why you didn't like it, you said something that's on the order of it should be something that I like because I like things when a designer
Yeah.
gets kind of funky and tries different things. I just didn't end up liking
I think
that.
you're gonna like it just because of all the other games you mentioned that you hate.
Okay.
That's
No.
why you're gonna like it.
You said that, and I realized that that's true. Like a lot of the games that you really end up liking are games that if you tried to pitch it, it wouldn't make any sense.
Well, listen, the game has a lot of buzz. I'm hearing from the hive mind. I'm hearing from the hive mind.
Come for the Space Bees.
Listen, I don't want to bumble about this anymore. Wait, what was the third game?
Do we have a sting for this next section?
Well, I'm supposed to be the curmudgeon here, and I'm telling you it's very good.
No, I believe you guys were excited.
the
You guys were
Trey has
mentioning.
spoken.
One thing that was very interesting is I played it 5-player, in which case it was this fast race where it stayed short, but it definitely felt like this mad dash. And then when we played it 3 later on, we got to develop our strategies out and do more of the things that the game seemed to promise. It
was a more tactical, strategic game at 3. Yeah.
Okay.
and the asymmetrical powers kicked in more. You developed more of your board, which
So you liked it more
things.
at 3.
I just thought it played differently. I thought that was very interesting how differently it played at 5 than 3. But the game was probably the same length regardless.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
And by the way, how many games these days are playing 5? Very few.
Very few good ones.
So what was the third one?
the third one, will not surprise you, is just Evacuation.
Yeah.
Is a game that I've only played once, but I may love that game.
Can we play it tonight?
Absolutely.
I have not played it yet, and I have my copy right there. and
It's
I have not
really
played it.
good.
That is what we're doing.
I have to say,
That is what we're doing.
I've played
It's
it.
the main game I'm excited to play that I haven't played.
I played it 3 times, and each time it's sort of like a different module thing. The only time I
I did also promise Ben we'd play Nucleum tonight,
Oh no.
which I don't know why is not on your number 1 of your best games of the year list, because that's
Well, it's-
crazy.
We're not talking about our best games of the year. We're talking about the games that we played there that are new.
No,
to
but
us.
Trey was
Oh
saying
no, but I'm down. To
nobody
play
even mentioned it.
Evacuation. I'm down to play.
No, we're talking about the.
I'm going to give it another chance.
It's incredible. I mean, I think it could easily be a classic.
Did you hear when I
it
said
could be a top
when I
10
said I
game.
think there's one game that I probably will.
That was the
end
one?
up loving 100%.
Oh, okay, I didn't know.
No, 100%.
Also, what about Age of Innovation? What about Great Western Trail in New Zealand? You're
Well, these were
insane.
just-
This is an incredible year.
no, I think those.
You're wildly insane. This is maybe the best year ever in board games.
Would you
I'm
like
putting
it?
a
It
flag
is-
on that?
I do think it's a
Would you
good
like to
year.
get into it? Because I'll get into it, mother.
I actually, you know what? Can I say something?
Yeah.
I kind of agree that this is a year of very goods, but I feel like the very goods are so very good, and we have a lot of very goods as opposed to last year where I thought there were a lot that were fine and there were like 1 or 2 excellents
Hits
last
and-
year, but
hits and
mainly
misses.
a lot of fines. And I think I would prefer a year with a lot of very goods because honestly, like I think Nucleum is like really, really good. That could be great. I've only played it once. I was 2 players, so I need to get like a full thing. I think Evacuation is actually pretty great. I think Kutnahora is pretty great. I think I like Age of Innovation, even though like the world of Terra Mystica is not my favorite. I feel like I haven't played. And I'm not trying to like actually guilt you guys on this, but I haven't played White Castle or Horseless Carriage.
White
And I think I
Castle's
would
great.
actually really
We're not-
enjoy them both.
We're
you know?
never playing those games. with
I
you.
know. I get that feeling.
We'll never.
And there were some others that came out that have been just like really wonderful. I love.
White Castle is on that level for me of truly excellent games, no question.
Yeah, and I think that I don't know if the Rich and the Good counts because it's technically a game from 2007, but it's the first time
played it. We played it.
Right, but
I
that's
played the Rich and the Good.
Yeah, and I think
like
that game, it basically is a new game because it's never been released stateside.
Sure.
I think that game is actually an amazing game, and one's an excellent game for
We
me.
played it. Did we play it twice, Trey? I think we did because we played one and it was like, wow, that was weird. The stocks just kept getting higher, and then we played it again and the same thing happened.
So you played it at BGGCon?
We played it at BGGCon,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
wow.
because it was a game I could teach and wanted to play it again.
Mhm. How was it for you the second time? The first time, the three of us played with Paul. How was it?
Yeah, I really I didn't screw it up as badly as my first play, where I just set myself up to be creamed on turn one.
Okay.
So I did learn a little bit there.
Yeah.
But no, it's very enjoyable. I mean, I think we kind of looked at the cards at the end and wondered if the balance of the cards might be a little bit off, like having played it a few times now, because it's just there's too many pluses versus the negatives in a sense. It
is definitely one of those games where your play experience will vary. Like sometimes just the way the cards come out, it will be an escalator up pretty much with relatively little down. And that is going to have a suboptimal play experience in comparison to the roller coasters that can happen in the game. So,
yeah,
and that's just the luck of the draw, and that's just the way it's going to go sometimes. It's not something great about the game, but it is part and parcel of when you come up with such a very simple stock market system. Occasionally, it's going to have a little issue to it.
I have found that every single game of it, there has been like games where everything stays really low the whole game. There's some where everything stays really high. Some that have the up and down.
Yeah.
But every single game has had like really fun, tough decisions and a lot of really fun talk around the table. And then when it all comes down to it, when it's like the revealing how much money is in the charity and who's going to be eliminated, is always a super fun moment. And there's always a big reveal and laughter. And I just think it's actually like a really like phenomenal.
It's super elegant.
1 hour to 90-minute game, depending on how much crosstalk there is.
The charity aspect of the game is a Reiner Knizia classic, right? Like half of his games in the late 90s, early 2000s had that mechanism where, hey, and you won if you did this, unless you were the person that is the lowest on this one thing. That did you pay attention to that?
Right.
Well, I do almost put this in the same category as something like modern art.
Yeah.
If it's in that space or high society or.
By the way, we played the blinged out modern art.
Oh,
the
actual artist
with the actual modern artists, where you're dealing with Van Gogh, et cetera, with
Klimt,
it was actual paintings that you're bringing up to the table.
The real one.
There is
full size.
There is an actual gavel and an actual wooden thing for the gavel to be gavelled on. I absolutely loved it. There is a little wooden easel that you put the art on.
A little easel.
I want that so bad. Like I don't, you know me. I don't care about the bling. Like put it in a paper bag. I don't care. I want this. I want this bad.
While you guys were just talking, I bought Space Bees.
Space Bees.
Wait, may I talk about some games
In my cart.
May I talk about a game that some games that I've played also? Were there other games from BGGCon that you were excited about?
Let me do one more BGG plug, just because I had the kind of experience that just makes me super excited that occasionally happens at cons, which you're wandering around.
Trey
the
did
dealer
peyote
hall.
for the first time.
That wouldn't be a first time at all. But I'm wandering around the dealer hall, and you're coming across different booths, and you have a lot of people that are first-time designers that are trotting out their game, and that's often can be really sad.
We have them at Strategicon.
Right,
There's a lot of those guys that are there every year.
The 4-player chess game.
The 4-player chess guy.
It's
been there forever.
Oh my god, it kills me.
There was
No, it's beautiful.
There was a
I think that's
version of
beautiful.
that
Do you really?
Yeah, he believes in his dream, and
He's been pursuing it for 3 decades now. Yeah.
bless him. He enjoys it.
Yeah.
Does he though?
He's not being forced. He's obviously loves it.
He has a dream.
But then
I love. By the way, here's Ben's read. He has a dream.
You know who I feel sorry for? The person who sees him every time and thinks in their head, boy, I have a game I wish I'd bring here, but I don't have the courage to.
There you go.
That's who makes me
go.
sad.
'Cause it's
not the guy dragging his ass out with his game every year after year.
12th
rain or
year is
shine,
going to be the
teaching
year
it to everybody.
that poker dice takes off.
Yes.
Poker dice
Ben
is finally
right
going to
there
happen
next to you when you said that. Why are
year
you?
12.
Why? Why would
Yeah.
you say that with him right here?
But
So
I found a game from a new designer I thought was awesome.
looks very good.
Looks really good.
And how did you of all the games? How did this?
Well, I test, but I mean, I will stop and play games. Like that's with new designers. Just try it out and,
map
and move on
and
quickly.
Wind farms. You look at it from a distance and you're like, ooh, what is this?
Let me play
Anyway,
this game.
the game's called Huge Honking Boobs.
I love it. I just got immersed in that immediately.
The game's called
It's a
Naked Lady Worker Placement.
It's a dexterity game.
The game is called K Caloria. I'm going to need to work on that.
I'm going to need a spelling on that.
a lowercase k, then caloria, like calorie, but
Not helping me.
Caloria. Here,
Oh, I see. One word.
one word. This is from Matthias Bowman. This is a Texas designer, and the idea behind this game is that it is a food chain game. It's a $20 game where you have to buy a kit for every player, and it's a set of hexes. And the idea is you can play up to 4 players with each person having their own.
We're having like an ASMR podcast today.
Trey, why are you pouring a soda while you're doing this? Like, I don't understand.
It is like the loudest soda pour of all time. And then, continue, sorry. So, K
This is a game
Caloria.
that's kind of like Dominant Species, but it's actually educating people about ecosystems and the way that different things interact. And you're placing tiles on a board and cubes, and in order to kind of support the different parts of the food chain, you actually have to link it up so that like plankton is supporting fish, which are being eaten by omnivores, which are being eaten by humans. Like it's kind of this elaborate thing that you're laying out on a table, and then you start to interact with other people's environments as you play the game. So the whole thing is kind of like this hex set that you play with cubes, but it looked really interesting. And this was themed as the East Piney Woods edition, I think, which is East Texas idea. So like armadillos are a thing.
When the got no more food because the climate no good, K Caloria.
What is happening?
I don't.
Where did that come from?
I don't know.
Anyway, I think this is going to come out in Kickstarter this year. I don't think they have specific plans yet, but you can play this game already on Tabletop Simulator. You can play this game on Tabletopia if you want to check it out. K Caloria.
Build your
I love
bio.
that you're bringing to light a game from just a guy or just a person at a convention with their game. I think I would love to hear more about that. And I think the art of this is giving splatter. It's giving some very cool handmade garage smartness.
Yeah, it looks very cool.
When I see a
I'm into
designer by themselves at a table at one of these things, I try to avoid eye contact.
I
So
like an
think it's amazing.
interesting name. I do think this is a tough one because if you tell the game to anybody, you're going to need to spell it for them, and then even then you have to tell them there's no space between the K Caloria. It makes it a tough game to search for.
Branding is a little bit of a challenge,
But I like a strange name.
I'm wondering. I'm probably just missing something here because actually,
I would just
if you
lose
look
the
at
K.
hexes,
I would just make it Caloria, maybe.
it may be like it's Latin because I think on the hexes they're actually doing the scientific names for everything. So that's
art
one
is
way in
great.
which it's language independent, and so that maybe this is Latin for.
Who am I to give
food
any
chain
notes?
or
But
something.
the first thing I thought of, I had to take Trey's piece of paper in order to type it into BGG, even
Either
after he spelled
way,
it for me.
very cool, Trey, that you actually were not being like a board game snob, and you actually did take the time to like do this and discover something, and now we get to talk about it on the podcast, and hopefully
Matthias
bring
Bowman
bring
is
awareness
the
to
designer.
it. So
and I
very
would
cool.
I would like to try
Yeah, and you
this
can go
game.
find a print and play of it right now if you want to try it out, or you can play it on Tabletop Simulator or Tabletopia.
By the way, speaking of splatter, something that I'm very excited about, I texted you guys. Is
Oh,
that
wait, we're not done with BGGCon yet.
is there another song?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, so something that's really cool is that 1830 which is kind of like a splottery 18xx game, would long out of print, is getting a reprint by All Aboard Games.
Love it.
It is available for pre-order now and only this month on the All Aboard website. This is not an ad, but it's very cool because it's like 18xx, but it has some funky stuff going on with rivers and reservoirs and
Joris and Euron famously are huge 18xx fans.
This is their
always have been, and
18xx.
this is their one time. Yeah.
Now, I think this is a really cool piece of board gaming history. I And I feel like I've been negatively influenced by some of the 18xx forums and stuff because I've never really heard a positive thing about this. That could just be the 18xxers are very negative to a certain extent. Some of them can be, and they're very afraid of change. And this is clearly a strange version of it.
I watched a playthrough on Heavy Cardboard because I first heard rumors of this. Actually, it was because of our Discord. By the way, shout out to all the people on our Discord. About 200th episode, we have to talk about
200,000 people on our
all
Discord.
The people that are constantly having great conversations.
Seriously, we have a very active Discord that is constantly popping. Our Facebook also gets a bunch of posts all the time. It's amazing. Thank you guys
Discord's
so much.
where it's at, though.
I had first heard about this through some discussion on our Discord. So I watched the playthrough on Heavy Cardboard. I thought it looked super cool.
That's awesome.
It's like mainly 18xx, but it's different too. And so I am really excited. I put in my order for it last night, well as an order for 21 Moon, which is
I'm surprised you hadn't already backed that.
I was surprised too. So I just keep on buying these games. I have a stack of 18xx
Did you get 18 Svea?
I did not.
Which is like their little, it's like a fast game, I think, right?
You know what? But here's the thing. I don't need a fast game. I want like if it's good, I will get it. But I'm happy with
it's just an 18xx that plays in 1 hour. Not many of those.
We'll see. So 21 Moon is really cool. I played that.
They all play in 1 hour, Matt.
Because that's all you play
if you do it correctly.
But anyway, I just wanted to give that shout out. Not a shout out. I want to let the audience know, since there is a limited window in which you can get the pre-order
all
for
aboard
that.
games. All-aboardgames.com.
And there's some other great games.
All Aboard Games makes everything they've made has been very high quality.
Oh, they are the premier 18xx publisher, in my opinion.
And you should check out, if you are someone who's into 18xx, you should check out their website, because there's some titles that are going to be like, when it's gone, it's gone. 18 West is going out of print, and he's literally going to destroy the leftover copies because he's been trying to sell it. And so this is your last chance to get some of these titles.
Keeper.
I bought it.
I just keep selling it, Ben. Keep selling.
He's going to destroy them because they're worth more to him in the trash than in his warehouse.
Well,
do you remember when Atari took all of those copies of E.T. and just buried them?
Yeah.
I have a copy of that game.
It's the only way they became valuable.
Okay, so for actual plays, a game that I would like to talk about, which I know you played, Matt, and I've actually also played, Septima.
Yep.
From Mind Clutch. Did you play that also?
No, I haven't played it yet.
So I famously, and I say famously as if people are like, oh, Ben is always feels this way.
Ben.
Like, famously in my own mind, I have really not connected with a lot of Mind Clash's stuff. I think Voidfall is fine, okay to fine with some good stuff. I really liked Anachrony, but everything else I really disliked.
Even
Tricarion?
I only played it once, and I thought it was fine, but I had a bad rules teach, yada, yada. I got to come back to it, yada, yada, yada.
Because I think, to me, Tricarion is in a different league than the rest of their games.
I enjoyed it.
It's a big ask. It's a lot.
But it was I was given the rules were messed up, so everything was whatever. So the point is, I'm not drawn to Mind Clash. I do not see Mind Clash, and then I don't lose my mind. So, but Jordan busted out Septima recently, and I was like, I've been trying to be in more of like a zen place of being like more chill about the games I play. I found I was getting myself way too wrapped up in like, well, I don't want to play this game, and therefore, blah, 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 And so I felt like, you know what? I'm not interested in Septima whatsoever.
Right.
It's Mind Clash, but you know what? Have fun with it. So we played it. I actually enjoyed Septima quite a bit. I'm actually surprised. I thought it was quite fun. I felt like the app descriptor is quite fun. I don't think it's something I will buy.
I don't know anything about it.
So it's a game where covens,
witch hunting,
and which, by the way, this should segue into the other coven game that we played, you and me, and Paul and Jordan. Evenfall.
Oh, Evenfall, yeah.
So this is a coven. You have a coven, and you're moving around a map, and you are trying to heal people with like. You're just doing lots of witchy things, and you're healing people, but then the people get suspicious of you, and then there's like witch trials.
It's a contract fulfillment game. Like, it is very much a get resources, fulfill contracts.
Right.
Get resources, fulfill contracts, with this thing where you have to be careful because the more contracts you're fulfilling, the sort of the more wanted you become from the witch hunters, and they're moving around the board and they get up in your business, and then they can put you up for trial, and you can actually lose all of the victory points you've been sort of going for to a certain extent, or at least a chunk of them if you get actually caught. There's some interesting stuff.
Yeah, you're like moving around a board, and I played.
It's drop dead gorgeous.
I love the art. Although in low light, it can be a little hard to see.
It's one of those maps that you look at and you go, is that even a map? It doesn't, and then when somebody explains the rules to you, you're like, oh, I see how this is a game. But it just looks like a piece of art at first, it doesn't look like a traditional map.
There's some like Concordia elements. You play cards and and then you pull them all back.
Yeah, it has that cut in a horror thing of like you have a handful of cards and you can only play a few of them, and like those are your actions.
Exactly. And we played, there's I guess an expansion that's included where you can like turn into an animal.
There's many modules, which is an annoying thing that might.
But one thing that is interesting about it's actually, I think it speaks volumes about the game. I played it 2 weeks ago, or maybe it speaks volumes about my brain that when you said it's a contract fulfillment, I literally can't remember the contracts. I'm like, I don't even remember that there were contracts, but I trust that they were there. There's something a little generic about the game to me, and that it was like very fun. Once it was done, it was like out of my brain. Right. But one thing that I was surprised about with the game was that there were moments of like delight. I was shocked that this game from Mind Clash had many hilarious, delightful moments, because one aspect is that if everyone chooses the action they're going to play at the same time, and everyone reveals, and if two people decide to do the same action at once, you get like a bonus, you get like a boost, like it's good, but you also get suspicion. And so what will happen is every time you reveal your cards, and it's like, oh my God, you chose the same action. It's like, yay. You actually like, there'd be like moments of cheering. And we were playing with Jason, friend of the podcast, Jason. And several times Jason and I kept on choosing the same action, and Jordan was doing his own thing. So Jason and I were constantly like slapping 5. And it was this like kind of funny thing. Like, oh my God.
It's like a game where you don't want to follow. It's the opposite of like, Glory to Rome or something, where you want to have played the same card other people have played, or like,
right. Well, or this is Race for the Galaxy.
Yeah, you want to play, like you have an action card, and if you play the same action card as somebody else, it shines a light on you, and the bad guys come for you.
But you also get benefits.
You have to think about what you can play that you think no one else will play. But you do get some benefits when you both play it. But I found
situational.
I found mostly I was really not wanting.
And I found I was, and I thought what was interesting was there'd be discussion of like, you want to do this, you want to do this, let's do this card together. And like you could also deceive someone. You'd be like, I'm totally going to do it, and then you play a different card. So
which is what you do in a coven.
Yeah, it's very witchy. So I actually enjoyed it. I also thought it was an interesting counterpoint to the old classic, the Alexander Pfister game that won Room Service, where it's the same thing where you take your courageous action versus your cowardly action, and if someone else has the courageous action, you don't get it.
Right.
So here it felt like
that's actually a really good comp. Yeah, that's true.
And like in that game, if you overlap, it's terrible. But in this game, I found that if you overlapped, it was actually good. It's funny to me that you say you don't want to follow, because I actually enjoyed
maybe
the
that
following.
was I mean, that could just be first game, not understanding things.
Either way, I thought it was actually a really good game. I really enjoyed it. I was really wrapped up in it. I think for me, it was one of those things where once it was done, I didn't feel like I wanted to go back in and explore more the way I do with Katanohora or Evacuation. I felt like that was fun. I was like set.
You can leave it there.
Yeah. But it was really fun. I think anyone will be very happy to play it.
I am a huge Mind Clash fan.
Yes, you are.
I like all their games. I adore Voidfall. I still love it. I think it's a 2-player game or a 3-player game at most, but I love it at 2 or 3. I really did not like my 1-play of Septima, which is really did not enjoy it. I think I had different expectations. This was sort of billed as their lighter game, like a little bit. It's absolutely not. The Teach is a fucking nightmare.
Yeah,
I was so exhausted after the Teach, and it was just like, and then there was just modules. That, like, I'm allergic to modules. I don't like a module.
Same.
Just design the game and tell me the game you want me to play. Yeah. I don't want to try. I don't know. Like, how many of those modules did you come up with a week before shipping? How many of them did you? How many? Here's what I want to know. If you're gonna have modules in your game, I want the designer to say these are the ones we actually want in the game, but we're taking them out because there's some fantasy we have that there's some people who are going to be casual that play this 3.5 weighted game?
No, it's the poison of Kickstarter, right?
Well, not necessarily.
No, but that's where it started. That's where that started.
Maybe.
Was the you're unlocking this and you're
I hate
unlocking
mod.
that
Just
and you're unlocking.
tell me
that.
the game. Tell me what the game is
agree.
you want me to play.
Can I say something that's interesting about evacuation? Because evacuation
does have that
also
a little
has
bit,
much.
yeah.
But in the rule book, it says we recommend. They comes up with like 3 different things. We recommend doing this, this, or this, and other versions we haven't play tested. So try it out and let us know on BGG what you think. Which I actually kind of. It seems like a cop out, but I
I don't
actually
like
kind of
that.
like them being like, let us know.
That's my
Give us
least favorite
feedback.
thing about underwater cities too. There's just like there's so many modules, and every time I'm like, which ones are we supposed
Small.
to play?
They're
I
such
know,
small
but
modules.
I will say that
it's a barrier to entry.
It depends. It depends. Like 9 times out of 10, I don't like modules, but every once in a while, like I will say Food Chain Magnate.
Well, that's a
the
different thing,
kitchen.
yeah.
But it
That's
is
sort of the
it is modules
exception to
though.
the rule,
It
yeah.
is modules, but
Of
it's
course.
pick what you want to put in. I quite like the
But
way
you
they
can't.
did it.
But you have
Yeah.
to pick. It's not.
yes, it
Are
is.
you playing with all of them? It's what are you pick
no.
one,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like
exactly.
or
Or
maybe
2, yeah, exactly.
Right. I don't like the ones where there's 9 modules and really it's a tutorial and I'm supposed to be playing with all of them.
Revive, right? Revive has got this fake kind of.
Well, but
early
that's not
beginner
modules.
play.
Yeah, that's literally like a fake campaign
Voidfall.
they
Yeah.
came up with.
Yeah.
Void falls out of control with the modules, right?
No, there's no modules. It's just
scenarios?
scenarios. Yes.
Okay.
Scenario based.
Scenario, sure.
But so here's I actually the farther I get away from Septima, the more I think about it, and the more I actually want to play it, which is a good sign because. So Mind Clash always does this thing where they have a little bit of randomness in there, which is just way too much for me. And they always have a way of mitigating that randomness.
Right.
And I've literally never played Anachrony where you roll the die.
Okay.
Like the glitch die or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like I just do the one where everybody takes one if you have stuff on the time travel track.
Yeah.
And we played with way too much randomness for me to the point, and this is such a heavy teach, and it's kind of like the entire time I was thinking of Trey, like every time something new would happen, I'd be like, Trey would have left, Trey would have left, Trey was out the door,
because of the-
Trey's left, Trey's flipped the table, like
The witch
10 minutes
hunter.
in, he looks at
But
the
there's-
designer and says, "I would quit this game at this point."
Yeah, right. That would have happened 8 times during the teach. But like there's a really fun part of the game where the witch trials happen,
Yep.
and it's a big thing, and you're building to it, and you're putting your votes in a bag, right? And what you want
Very
is
village.
you're influencing the jury,
Correct.
Right. So for the witch trials to be seen as
You
not
want
a
to
witch,
stack the bag your way.
and it's really important. Like the whole game hinges on it, and you could just get a bad pull, and it just feels like nonsense. It just feels like this was a waste of time.
yeah.
Like I just don't, like I spent all this time. Like Jordan had like 9 cubes in there, and we pulled 1, and it's like, well, but this isn't a game. Like why did I do that? Why did I spend the entire round putting 9 cubes in there for the luck of I lost. Fun, yay!
Maybe
And
because
that
I
was the
wasn't-
experience. I
maybe
had.
It's
because
a
I had
narrative, not a game.
Maybe
Well,
because I
but
had the
that's-
mindset of like, you know what, let's go with the flow tonight. Maybe like you have to have a certain, like I just was maybe lucky that I had a detached sense about it. I was like, whatever, let's just see what happens with these witches. I don't.
If I burn, I burn.
If I burn, I burn.
Well, you seem more zen right now, and maybe that's
trying to
what's
be more
going
I
on.
think you went a little.
You were
yeah.
too zen last night.
I was
Acting
too zen. I was too zen, but I was when we played what's it called? But
Avalon?
I
Is
really
Avalon-
want to
is
try it
Avalon the game?
again, and I want to try it with more determination.
yeah, I would be open to playing
I
it
shouldn't
again.
play
I
this
just there's
game.
like a million other
I'll
games
let you
I'd
know. If you
rather
should play.
play.
I need to play it with less randomness.
There's just like a million other games I'd rather play before I come back to September.
I have
but it
not.
was a
I have
nice
not unwrapped mine. It's still in shrink because I want to play Jordan's copy one more time and decide if I even want to crack the shrink on it, which is crazy for me.
I have the same situation with another Mind Clash game.
Oh, with Voidfall. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about Evenfall? Or how are we doing with time?
I think we should probably.
We're okay. We're an hour and 10 minutes in.
We could talk about Evenfall really quickly. So Evenfall is like
Another witch game.
another witch game. It's very much a engine building tableau game. It's card driven tableau building. If you've played Imperial Settlers,
51st
if you've
State.
played 51st State, you're building sort of an engine, but you have this like vertical player board, and you're putting cards on 2 sides of it, and where you put the cards decides what they are. in the world of those types of engine builders, and I would even put something like Wingspan or something in there where it's very card driven, you're very trying to get combos, you're trying to put these together. It's the heaviest of those. It's the most sort of gamerified that I found of those. Not in the rules teach, but in the crunchiness of the combos. There's actually a lot of really cool decisions to be made in there. The only problem was it's just way too long at 4 players. Way too long for what it is.
And very heads down, not a lot of interaction.
It reminded me of like the complimentary breakfast you get at like a Hyatt place. It's just like it's there.
No interaction. Yeah,
It's
which I'm not
there.
allergic to. I know you're very allergic to that. It doesn't bother you as much. There's a bit of interaction, but it's passive interaction. There's no direct interaction.
It started. I thought when it started off, I was having a really nice time, and really, I enjoyed the card art. I enjoyed the flavor text, and in the beginning, we were even engaging in some of the like, oh, I took my witch to like the void of clarity or something like that. There was a card called the Gate to Hell, which I really enjoyed. I was like, well, I've now summoned the Gate to Hell, and so it was
The
fun.
art is absolutely stunning.
Art is cool.
Stunning
There's
art,
cool
yeah.
stuff going on, but after a while, it did feel long and it felt repetitive, and it just sort of had no arc to it. And on top of that, Jordan is an excellent player, especially with card-driven games. Like he's so good at it, but he also it was one of those things. I'm never one to say this game is broken. I always feel like when people just jump out of the gate with that,
Yeah,
I'm
he
like,
found a combo from round 1 that just we were all like, that has
He
to be
beat us all
that has to
by,
be a
like,
wrong rule
50
because he
points.
lapped us from round 1. And I don't know. I honestly, it's really hard to say. It's also there's asymmetric powers, like very asymmetric powers.
yeah. It was one of those games that was also trying to be interactive. It was one of those things where like it sort of like pace on some stuff the way Terraforming Mars pace on like take some things from people. Like you know when certain games are just not interactive, so they add some random things that like, oh, if you look at so and so's tablet, every time the person to your left produces, you get a thing. So it's like this artificial and
I will not
interaction.
sit here and allow you to besmirch Terraforming Mars.
I love
that is a
Terraforming
bunch
Mars.
of nonsense.
I love it. I've got the big box. I got the big.
I got the
ass
big boy box.
I got the big boy box.
Even without the take that elements in that game, there is a lot of interaction.
I know, but I'm
Tons
saying
of
I'm not
interaction.
okay. So bad example. But I'm just saying you know when sometimes a game is like, oh, we have to like up the interaction. So you have to look at this person's tableau once in a while.
Yeah,
It's also, I don't know, we played it sort of late in the night. We thought it would be a lot faster, so we were like trying to play it as a filler because I mean, from the reviews I'd read, it's like 90 minutes with a teach. Like, okay, cool, that's fast. 4 players, 90 minutes with a teach. It was not. It was 3 hours with a teach.
3 hours. It just kept on going and going.
And it was like,
and
so
going.
we had that feeling of like, oh, we thought this was going to be over. So you're
Yeah.
like, oh, I just wish it would end. And so that taints the experience. Like, so I don't know. There's some cool stuff going on. Yeah. I don't know.
It was
I'll
fine.
try it again.
It was fine. It was fine.
Since March of 2019, there have been games. We have reviewed them.
Ooh.
We have talked about them.
Ooh.
We have debated them. But at the end of the day, there can only be 3.
There can only be
Can I ask you a
There
question?
can only be 3. Yes.
Does anybody have a 2023 game in their top 3?
Yes.
Nope.
So do I.
I mean, mine's going to be obvious. You guys already know.
I do not. I think that there might be.
Does anyone have fresh fish in their top 3?
Sadly, it predates 2019 by a decade.
Also, I will just say the game that we talk about too much has not even been mentioned on this podcast yet.
Actually, it just was super briefly.
I'm not sure which one you're talking about.
Oh, come on.
Oh, wait. I want to say one thing.
You
though.
do know.
Avalon.
Oh, yeah.
It's the appropriate response.
Wait.
Avalon.
I want to just underline that we decided to go for our favorite games, our favorites, which is not always the same as best. And
It should.
and
There
I
should
think-
be
I feel
no
like-
best is crazy, a crazy concept.
Right. I also feel like it's so fluid.
they're the
And for
best.
me, when I was thinking about favorite, I was having a hard time. Like, what does favorite mean to me? And I was just trying to think of like the games that like make me feel warm inside. Like I feel that like warmth in my chest, or I get excited thinking about it. Or games that have, it's given me either that, like the tingles, or it's given me a feeling of like playing it, the feeling of like, wow, I got the first time I play it sometimes. It's sort of like nebulous for me. But
Mine's
that's
simple.
what I went
Mine's
for.
games I'd rate a 10, pretty much.
Yeah, I think mine's that, but it's also for me, like I'll just say right off the bat, I think that my number 3 game is objectively better than my number 1. But for me,
Sure, that's fine.
the joy that I have that I've experienced playing this game. For some reason, it's like when the doctor has that little rubber thing and he hits you and your leg kicks out, and every once in a while it just really gives you a good kick. Yeah. For some reason, that game just works for me in a way that is amazing.
It's like when you're getting your prostate examined.
Well, no, because that's always number one.
Let's kick this off, Ben.
Okay.
What is your number 3?
All right. Well, I have my top 3. I haven't ranked them, but I'm going to say my. You know what I'm going to do for my
first
number
one
3?
you want to
No,
say?
no. By the way, it would not be a top 10 in which Ben follows the instructions.
No. I did not come up with any. I mean, I have an honorary, but I have 3. I'm just saying that I haven't figured out the order. But I'm going to say for my number 3, oddly enough, I think I'm going to say Red Cathedral.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have to say.
Oh my!
And that's like a relatively recent one. Honestly, this slot was between Red Cathedral and Praga Caput Regni, believe it or not.
Well, you got it in there, didn't you?
I did. Okay. Only because like
Wait, would that be your runner-up then?
that's
Ben?
my runner-up.
Yeah.
Only
Yeah.
because but
You
these were like
Ben?
Euro
You understand
games.
why we don't like doing this with you?
Yeah. So Euro games are like for some reason they just make me these are games that just these two that just give me like a lot of warmth. I don't know what it is, but I decided Red Cathedral gets the edge because of again just how clean it is. And I really appreciate a clean design and Praga's Praga's just like a Euro game. I'm not gonna say it's clean. It's Euro game. But like Red Cathedral,
You know what he really needs to play?
I mean, until I would have said that would be high on my list until I played White Castle. But now that I played White Castle, I was like, I don't think I need to play that
really
anymore.
think
It's
about
just
Red Cathedral
so
anymore.
amazing.
I've only played White Castle once, but I like Red Cathedral more.
Okay.
Well, I think the Red Cathedral
You're not playing the game we're playing.
Maybe.
Trey and I are playing a game right now. We're playing a game.
Because of the-
Keep away from Ben.
I
Keep
see. Not let him play it.
Let him
I'm
play
just saying,
White
I think
Castle.
you've actually played the better of the two.
And talk about how amazing White Castle is.
Well, either way, the Red Cathedral is to me I think it should be a classic. I think it's so fun. It's really interactive. That's a game that uses luck in terms of rolling dice in a way that is, I think, very palatable for people who don't love dice. I think that
It's no
rondelle
more
is
offensive
really
than
exciting.
Castles of Burgundy.
Right. And especially with the expansion is talk about modules. The expansion actually does a thing with modules, but it works the way Food Chain Magnate works, which is that you get a sense of like you feel like you're reading from a menu. Like, hey, what module should we do today? Like, which way should we spice it up today? Not like, how do I actually play this game?
Yep.
And I really love the way the expansion works. But even without the expansion, I just think it's a clean game. I love obviously the rondelle is the thing that's most famous about it, but I think actually the area control in the game, and I'm not even a big area control person, but I think the area control is really fun.
Super fun.
I think the resource management of the game is really fun. I think it works, and it's also very affordable. And I think it's like it's a game that I would say
box.
slightly too small. Why? Because it doesn't fit nicely with the other boxes.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's one that should be actually in everyone's collection. I think it makes me feel great to play it. I love it, and I love that I just sort of bought it on a whim in February this year, and then it turns out to be this wonderful game. So,
My rating for it is a 9. It's way up there. It's a fantastic
Yeah.
game, no question about it.
yeah.
Should we just go around the horn?
Yeah, Matt, what do you think?
My number 3 is just a perfect game. It's Ark Nova. It's just
Ark Nova's
what can be
fantastic.
said that hasn't been said about Ark Nova. I have not played the expansion yet, and it's in the box, and I'm super annoyed. I'd really like to play it soon. I just love it. It's a game that I will always want to play it. I always enjoy it. There's few games that to me are turn by turn more fun than Ark Nova. Yeah. Just the actual moment to moment of playing those cards and building my thing. Just everything about it is I'm just fully in the game.
Animal Prison is a great game. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
It is definitely a winner. The design of it, the replayability. Yeah. Some might say the theme might turn them off a little bit.
Sure.
Animal Prison.
Well, I hate animals.
Well, there you go. You're good.
And I love coffee.
It's a super fun game.
So my list, I was definitely, when looking at favorite, this is a list of games that I want to play. Like any of these games right now, if you said you want to play this, I would play this. I'm actually going to go to my number 2 right now because you mentioned Ark Nova, because it was between Ark Nova and this Imperial Steam for like my game of the year that year. And I did think like Arc Nova is going to be the bigger hit. It's going to connect with more people. But as far as like the game that's actually more for me, and I really like Arc Nova, I think Imperial Steam is the one. And it also like this is a hard one to get. Like Jordan's complaining
Jordan's
now.
been trying to get it.
Trying to play for so long. It's hard to get to the table because it is heavier.
Almost as long as I've been trying to get Horseless Carriage to the table.
But it's good. It's really good, and I feel like there are depths to plumb in Imperial Steam that we've only kind of
100%.
just begun to.
That would have been like my number 4 and number 5 on this
I put
list.
it on my at the beginning of the year in January. Matt, I will say, bullied me into getting the BG Stats app, and I did it, and we created a 10x10 challenge.
And I have not used BG Stats since then.
And I've used it for every game I've played, even the Avalons. But I put Imperial Steam as on my 10x10, and I'm not sure how. I think I've played it.
You'll get it done by the end of the year.
So I told Jordan last night, because Jordan again last night was like, "What about Imperial Steam?" And then it was like quickly shot down. So I texted him. I said, "You know what? Next time I will play."
I'm very sad, Jordan. If you're listening, I'm very sad that it sounded like your game night was not ideal, and I feel bad about that.
He had a good time. He had a good time, but like I felt bad because I could see. I know what it's like to, when you want to get something to the table and you try and it doesn't get to the table. So,
and I love Imperial Steam. You may even hear it mentioned by me very soon.
Maybe.
What's your number 3, Thomas?
My number 3 is probably going to be on other people's list in a higher position. I said at the get-go that my number 3 may be a better game than my number 2 and my number 1, but for me, for weird little personal reasons, it's my number 3, Barrage. Barrage. When it came out, it was a thunderclap. It was a non-stop. Like, we played that every game session for 2-3 months straight. We just couldn't stop playing it. And there's every reason in the world. The design of it is incredible. The use of the board space, the gravity, the feeling that you're playing a physical engine that you are trying to tame and control and fight for, trying to generate energy through hydroelectric power. It's amazing. The expansion comes really close to doing the thing I don't want an expansion to do,
pulling you away from it.
which is pull away from the central experience. But doesn't get there. It still is amazing. Everything
loosens it up a little.
I still
little
prefer
bit.
the base game. I think the base game is a 10. But I like the expansion, and I will happily play with it. And I like that it exists. It's rare that I have like a game where it's like, oh, let's play with the expansion night. That's fun.
Yeah.
But to me, like the purest version is just.
Yeah. And the new map is
There's a bunch of maps now. They're great.
amazing.
Yeah.
And earlier, maybe I think it was on the podcast, maybe it was before, when someone said, "What games play 5 these days?" There's a 5-player map for Barrage, by the way.
And I played it. It's fun. Yeah.
It's easy to forget that Barrage overcame tremendous, like one of the worst Kickstarters, and then there were huge issues with the first copies that were printed, and like I'm not saying everyone has forgotten all that.
Yeah.
But no, I don't care.
It's
anymore.
that good of a game that nothing could have.
That would have
solved it.
issues would have killed plenty of games. It did not kill.
And
Barrage.
I think it's like a top 50 BGG game, which I know who cares about the rankings, but at the same time that it got so many like zeros and
That's right.
ones.
There's still
from
hate
that,
votes on it.
The fact that it, despite the fact
It
that
is
it has
number
hate votes,
35.
the fact that it got to 35 with all those hate votes.
Oh yeah, that's
think-
how good it is. That's how many people rated it a 10 and meant it.
Although isn't it really supposed to be Barrage?
I don't think so.
Why?
Because I think that like Barrage is actual like dams, but we always say Barrage. Just something to think about, guys.
That's the word in
We'll
English.
check back in on episode 400.
So you're saying it's a homonym?
Jesus. Ben, what's your number 2?
My number 2 will probably be no surprise to most people who listen to the podcast. We're sitting at this table. I decided to put Hegemony on here because I just think it's just wildly fascinating.
Still haven't played it.
We're going to.
Is that really?
Yeah. No, but I'm telling you, we're going to play it, Matt. We're going to play it.
We are never.
No, you haven't missed it. 'Cause I'm always ready to play it.
We are never going to play Hegemony
Or Horseless Carriage.
or with or Fresh Fish with Matt. We are never going to play White Castle.
It's a good bit.
So the criticisms against Hegemony, I understand them, and I actually don't even push back
They're
on them. I know
quibbles. They're quibbles.
some people have found that playing like the capitalist class or the state can feel a little one-dimensional. Some people have different issues, but some people say they don't want to play a game that reminds them of a civics lesson. That's totally fine. Whatever, everyone can have their own reactions. For me, I think the game creates such a fascinating alchemy of table talk that puts you in the roles of real life groups that it just feels so authentic. It's fascinating the way it works. I love the way we are both we're all at the, not we are both, but we at the table are all we're dealing with, like, there's an economic game, there's a political game, there's a social game. When people play the game and say, oh, well, when I was doing this thing with the calculus class, it wasn't that interesting for me. I'm like, I get how maybe the actual actions may not be fascinating to you, but I feel like the real game is what's happening above the table. And I feel like if you're not getting that, that's a shame, because there's so much richness there. And so I've just been smitten with this game for about the past 2 years, and I think it's really it's to me it's wonderful.
It should be played more like diplomacy. It should be in the negotiation and the talk and the barter and the horse trading that happens for sure. For me, it is a game that I would not want to play every month, but I also I'm never going to sell it. It is a game that I am going to play once or twice a year, probably every year, because it's
a special occasion.
It is a special
and
occasion.
It's really like it's a game where I think often about playing it with different people. I imagine like, oh, I can't wait to play this with so and so and so and so and so and so and see what they do. And Matt, for real, the window is not closed.
No,
I'm trying to.
I think if my son were here, I think it's his favorite game of the last.
I think it's a masterpiece. Yeah,
100%.
My number 2 is a 2023 release. Age of Innovation.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Nucleum.
Which kind of kills.
I thought it was 2. Yeah.
Which kind of kills my top 10 for the year when we get there. But okay,
it's okay.
Look, it's an interesting thing because it's like, is it a new design or is it just a perfection and iteration? It's still, it's replaced the rest of them. I like Terra Mystica. I don't know if I'll ever play it again outside of online. No. I don't know if I'll ever play Gaia Project. I don't think I ever will play Gaia Project.
Is there a new Gaia Project?
I'm the other way. For me, I think Gaia Project is different enough that it is the other. That I don't think I'll ever play Terra Mystica again for sure, because it has replaced that. But I think Gaia Project still has its own headspace. That is quite different.
I love Gaia Project.
Yeah, same.
Every Age of Innovation game I've played since it came out has been so enjoyable that it's like when I play Agricola, it's like, why do I even play anything else? Like, why? Everything else is a waste of time, it feels like to me. Like, I'm just so happy. I'm so enjoying it. Every aspect of it, the draft, the game, the end game. Like, I'm just so it is a time machine for me. Like,
Swamp Blast.
3 hours will go by in 30 minutes for me. Like, I just think it's the perfect heavy Euro for me that's come out since 2019. And like, even though it is an iteration, I cannot not put it on my. It is my second favorite game released since 2019. Yeah.
I can't argue with that. I mean, for me, it's in a weird mental space for me because it is an iteration to me more than it is
an innovation.
More than it is an innovation.
See, it feels new enough to me that it just like I don't know.
But there's no question that they did a great job of taking two very popular designs, combining elements of those
innovations changed the whole game for me.
Yeah. No, they do.
And the order they come out
they're pretty incredible. It's an amazing game, no question about it.
That's my 2. Trey, so you're gonna do your 3 now because you did your 2.
That's fun. This will be my number 2.
Okay.
So. Yeah, again, a game I just always want to play and want to play more of. Haven't played enough of it yet, but I'm assuming I'm going to play a lot with you, my friend, is War of the Ring, the card game.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Like, when I think of, like...
Love that you put that on the list.
Well, it kind of has, like, the gameplay that I that I really want in a game. We're going to play 4 players. I'm going to partner across the table with someone.
Yeah.
And when played properly, my cards are going to set up my partner and vice versa in this beautiful theme. You're making incredibly interesting decisions about where you're allocating your resources, when you're timing certain things. It's in an IP that I think they really embraced here. So, you took a game like Quartermaster General and then streamlined it and refined it in a space that I want to be.
And for me at least, and I think for you too, it scratches that itch of playing like competitive card games, like Game of Thrones or things like that, where you have to pilot this deck. You have this deck, and you have to learn it. You have to get good. There is a skill level, a high ceiling.
I've looked at those cards and said, what's the right way to use this card?
And there's different strategies, different paths you could take within each deck. And so that is so fun. And it gives so much replayability because there's 4 highly asymmetric decks and multiple ways to pilot each of them. And then the way your opponent is piloting and the way your team member is piloting it, it's fascinating. Yeah. And it's a game,
very accessible.
Simple game.
When you taught that game, we kind of got going and we're playing it and we're learning on the fly, and very quickly it's like, oh, this is making sense. And then the deeper, decisions that were kind of coming out were revealed, and so you're in and playing that game very, very quickly.
And it does
deeply
what few games are capable of doing, which I think is the story that it creates is as interesting as the strategy is deep, which is rare. Because it creates these really cool stories that are very thematic of we're fighting Helm's Deep again, everybody. We're going back to it. Gandalf died there, but
you get to retcon
exactly
the novels
the fact,
over and over and over again.
Yeah, and the fact that the battles come back to life after it's been we fought Helm's Deep 8 rounds ago, and all of a sudden it's coming back again, and now we're fighting Helm's Deep Part 2, and all that stuff is so fun. And
well, also, by the way, you're not going to have those sort of experiences with games unless you're having fun with them, right? If you're having not to trash Evenfall, but if the game is starting to become rote when some piece of flavor comes up, later on, you're like, okay, whatever. What do we do to play this? But if you're immersed in the game and you're having so much fun, when piece of flavor comes up, all you want to do is make a story about it.
Yeah, absolutely. No.
So that was my number 2.
Great pick.
That was your number 2. My number 2 is a game that has already been mentioned, Imperial Steam. I absolutely love that game. The only knock on it is that I won't play with Jordan, but other than that, I adore that. That's the only thing is I have to wait until there's a week when Jordan doesn't come to game night, and then I'm like, okay, Imperial Steam, and then we bring it out, and we have such a good time. Yeah. No, it's an incredible design. Everything Trey said, I cannot do anything but echo. I think it is an absolute classic.
It is made for a 10x10 list, and nope, we're not going to do a damn 10x10 or whatever. But I played it once, that is the kind of game that needs to be played a bunch of times.
Yeah.
We would struggle to do a 6x6.
Yeah.
Struggle to do a 3x10.
Honestly.
4x4.
Super fun game. All right, my number 1.
Here we go, number 1.
If I could, now here's where I bend the rules. If I could.
This is where you do it?
This. If I could, I would give it to 18xx.games. But that's not a game. But to be fair, if I'm talking about favorite.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
in all honesty, because especially in the darkness of the pandemic, of lockdown, especially when just when LA became the epicenter. I've said it before on the podcast. We were locked in our houses, and I was going on Zoom, and I was playing game after game after game on 18xx.games. And it was a bonding thing for my friends who I was playing with, and it was a really great escape. And it's very special to me to be able these 18xx games really helped me get through a very difficult time, and I continue to play them at length. I've got 2 or 3 games going at any given time. And so I wish I could say that was my number 1 game since it came out, because that was the number 1 sort of game system that I learned. Mm-hmm. But if I have to choose a game though, so it was important for me just to mention that, because that was an important part of the past few years for me in terms of my gaming. But for number 1, Barrage. Barrage is, to me, undeniably the best game that's come out in the past 4 years. There's no game in my mind that has been better than Barrage that has come out. I think it's an excellent, excellent game. I played Nucleum once, and I really enjoyed it. I can't wait to play more of it. But you play Nucleum, and it also makes you reflect on just how good Barrage is. And that's not a diss on Nucleum. It's like, wow, Barrage is so good. Every time you play it, like you're on the edge of your seat for every single turn you take. You're like, oh, don't take that spot, or oh, I need to do that, or I need to go here. I've got to pivot here. It like Barrage works. It works well. It is a phenomenal game, and I get so angry when people say, I like Barrage, but it is such a mean game. It is not a mean game. I'm sorry, everyone. It is not a mean game. It is a cutthroat game.
It is if you play it properly.
It's a cutthroat game.
Yes.
It's a cutthroat game where if you don't do certain things, people will capitalize off your mistakes. Or if you're like, I don't want to spend those $3 to put a dam there.
It's not mean once everybody's at an even playing field. Because then you damn well know why it happened to you.
Nice pun.
Damn well no.
No, but I think but meaning that like a mean game is one where you build something up and someone knocks it over. Like that is a mean game. To me, it's a game where
I don't know. I don't think that argument carries water.
no.
What? It's a great game for
Did you
getting
guys
into
switch
the flow.
personalities? What the heck is going on? That's awful.
I really don't have the energy to go into this, but no, but for real, I think that like people may have when the game is cutthroat, people can come out of it feeling a little bruised, and so therefore they say it's a mean game. But I actually don't think it's a mean
Just
game.
feels like you're pissing downstream right now.
Yeah.
It's a great game. What else do I have to say? You guys said it already. It's such a good game. Everyone should play it and buy it and whatever. Do whatever you want with it.
All right. My number one, it's a little controversial. It's Voidfall. No, I'm just kidding. It's Barrage. Obviously, it's Barrage. Clearly.
Oh, Barrage. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Of course.
High five.
Of course. It's Barrage. Barrage is, I don't know, my second favorite game of all time. And how could it not be the number one game released since 2019? It's a perfect game. It's the reason I'm in this hobby is for the chance of a game like this coming out.
Yeah. 100%.
All right, so am I the only one that doesn't have Barrage on the list?
I think you definitely are. And,
And-
as I
and
said,
I
I said my number 3 is probably the best game of the
Wait,
three.
and by the way, interestingly enough, I do remember that the year Barrage came out, I think did you give Crystal Palace a higher ranking than Barrage?
He didn't. And in fact, I have all of our top 10s from every
Or was
year.
it Pipeline?
I
I was
didn't.
actually surprised you didn't put Pipeline on this, actually.
No, I did not put Barrage as my number one the year that it came out.
Oh.
These
What
things
was your number
No,
one?
no, hold on a second. Apples to apples.
Pax Premier 2E.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
that's a well acclaimed.
It would have been my number 4 and number 5. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll give it to you.
I think I would admit Barrage is the best. Like it's better than the other games I've listed. But if my standard is, I'm like dying to play it right now. Like there's something
That's what's tricky. I'm not dying to play Barrage
it's tricky.
right now.
And like there's times where Barrage is intimidating to me. It doesn't always translate to fun, if that makes sense. And that doesn't make sense because like Imperial Steam should be just as intimidating. So like what distinction in my brain?
Well, we played a lot of Barrage. I also struggled with that because I was like, Barrage was actually not reading as favorite for me but I was like, that's only because we played it a lot. And sometimes the games that we don't play a lot, you pine for more. And so I had to really say to myself, I know that you're not hungry for this game.
I also I got addicted to it on BGA, and I really recommend that you guys play it on BGA because it opens up a whole, like it's fast. And it's 90 minutes tops, 4 players, and the people on there know what they're doing, and you will learn strategies you never
You got a lot better real quick.
I became a very good Barrage player out of that game, and I've played against people and I've gotten destroyed because I kind of got up in the rankings and I was playing like very high level people, and they were doing things that I was like in my 100s 200 play of the game and being like literally didn't think that was a strategy that was possible, and it's like, and it was like this game is. I mean, like it was just getting my mind blown.
We
by
have
what
to
was
get out of our
possible.
own group a lot of times.
Yeah,
to actually.
Yeah. Oh, and
We're not
once
the
I
best
started
board game
once I
players.
started playing Barrage on BGA, I quickly found a strategy that we had not done on here, and it's wildly strong. And
You
like,
can't wait to destroy us.
no, I've played.
done it.
Yeah, I've
He's
done
done
it. And it's very strong. But it's about memorizing the spots on the map that are, there's just very clear.
Do you remember that night when Paul left in tears?
No.
That was the night.
Yeah. But I thought that strategy was unbeatable for a while. And I was like, oh, maybe Barrage actually has some problems. And then I got to the next level on BGA players, and that strategy does not work against them. And they did a whole other thing. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So go on.
So my number one, and again, this is like favorite.
Space bees.
I am still,
Space bees.
I'm still championing Transcontinental.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
Hell yeah,
that
dude.
was I
love that you did
that
that.
was I thought about that one. It's so
I just have
good.
so much affection for
Me too.
Transcontinental.
I've only played it twice, and I really enjoyed it. I'd
a
like to
great
play it
game.
more.
So this is maybe like the flip side of Barrage, because I think it had a little bit of a rocky.
Still rocky.
It's still
people
rocky.
like-
It's
People are
still
still
rocky,
not
and
getting
people
their
are still
stuff.
mad about it and stuff,
It's a
and
shame.
it hasn't overcome.
No, it has not.
That
because
and-
it
I think
didn't
it
have
tainted
big
me a
enough
little
people.
bit, to be honest.
I am missing a piece from that game.
You'll never get it.
I sent I filled out the form 3 years ago, and I am still waiting.
This game will become, I think, like a Glory to Rome Black Box Edition kind of thing, where it's like
It's a Grail game.
I
that you
mean,
can't
yeah,
get.
because
You
it
know,
will.
a lot of people didn't like it. A lot of people did not like it, which shocked me.
It will
Shocked
find its
me.
audience
But a lot
though,
of
and
people
those
don't
people will
like
never
that,
let it
don't like-
go, and then you'll never be able to find it again. And I think
Maybe
that's
I
a great
should grab
game.
it now because, like,
If you can find a
I love
copy,
it.
I would grab. Oh, it's on Amazon for $80 right now. I would fucking grab it.
I thought about putting it on the list, and it didn't make the cut.
Better
Yeah,
buy it
so
before.
it's-
I would buy it before this podcast comes out, and somebody hears that and goes on Amazon.
I feel like
and
I
buys
do
it.
this every year where I kind of stand for Transcontinental, but
so
like this is the
good.
place again. It's like, hey, if you've missed the episodes, whatever, this is a game that I.
I'm
think
glad you said that, and I really want to play it again. I
always have a great time.
I think we might need to do a house ruling of some of the events.
Maybe.
Yeah, the cards may not be the
Yeah.
most
I-
balanced yet.
Just the amount that first player changes, I think, is wrong.
Yeah, that was like a late in the design thing. 'Cause
really
we played an earlier version
really
that didn't have
enjoy
as
that,
much,
yeah.
but
Everything else about it is like, mwah, chef's kiss.
But you know what? I remember we played it the first time, Trey, on Tabletop Simulator during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I had seen the Rado run through, and it was very fascinating to me. And I was like, let's try this game out. And we played it. And I just remember it was like that magical moment when you play a game where you go, oh my God, this is so cool. What's going on here?
Yeah.
Like Transcontinental really turns worker placement on its head,
Yep.
and it turns resource management on its head. It is like a brilliant
it
game.
turns the theme on its head. It's like a train game that in a space that I've never
As
really been done
gorgeous.
before.
Well, there's no,
It's
there's
gorgeous.
no tracks being laid. Really, there's no.
But you are definitely building track.
It
across
feels like
Canada, yeah.
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 Wonderful
No,
game.
I love that.
So I just,
really
have,
wanna
I
play
just
that
have a tremendous
I'm
affection
glad.
for this game. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm glad you
it's
bring-
incredible.
Thank you for putting that on your list because it's important for that game to get more love.
The two things that I was thinking about that I couldn't. There were basically three things that didn't make it on my list that we haven't mentioned yet. One was Toletum. I think Toletum is an astonishingly great game
too.
from last year. Absolutely, it belongs in the conversation. Two is Anno 1800. I don't know why people have fallen out of love for that.
That's so funny you said it. Do you know what they just announced?
What?
A brand new expansion for it.
I'm
Just announced.
I am in
Coming
there
next
day
year.
one. I
Me
am
too,
in there.
Day one. I was thinking so much in the last couple of weeks. That game's almost perfect. Like that's an
Yes.
incredible game. Why don't we play that constantly?
It's an
Yeah.
amazing.
I
amazing.
really want to pull that out again recently because I adore that game.
Same,
Martin Wallace.
100%.
I-
Marty, my friend Marty, he designed it. Evidently,
And
I didn't
Wally, baby.
realize that.
and Molly.
What's amazing is there have been so many great games that have come out since our podcast started.
We're
Underwater
in
Cities?
that.
Was that before? I think.
I think it was 18. I'm not positive.
I apologize to everyone involved.
But no,
18. Yeah.
You know what?
we are in the phase of our hobby, right, where 95 our hobby. Oh, go ahead. You want to say?
No, you finish your spiel, and then I was going to do I was going to add an impromptu bonus round.
No, you already.
No, for all of us.
Did your honorable mention. You snuck
No,
in an
that's right. No,
honorable
'cause
mention.
that's because it's
We
what
all get some
Bennerty has
honorable
done.
mentions.
No, this is a
Fine.
bonus round for all of us.
Okay, good.
It's a round. It's not for me.
Good. Worst game title is Dwellings of Eldervale. Okay, that's one. If that's the category. No,
Good game.
No, but the worst
Not
title.
K.
The worst
Caloria.
title. The worst title. We are in the phase where we are in the standing on the shoulders of giants phase, right? Like 95, these modern, what we are considering our hobbies games began to come out. 2005, Agricola hit and started things really ramping up. It became something that was not just Euro, but the whole world were designing these kinds of games in the 2010s, and now we're at the point where there is such a game language of great design that people can take and riff off of and build on, that we're now at the point where there are some truly astonishing designs that are coming out. And my Year of the Very Good, I know it's damning with faint praise, but it really is both a combination that so many of these games are excellent, but also that my bar for total love has gone up because Barrage is out there. How do I get something that's that high? But for me, my number one is a game that actually, Ben, you just mentioned. You just called me out on it. For me, Pipeline is the game.
Have you played the expansion yet?
Yes.
Oh, I haven't. I don't even have.
Yes. And by the way,
more lines.
It's a souffle of an expansion. It's not much. It's very little.
But
it does good little
feces
things.
expansion, right?
What?
The feces expansion. Right?
No,
you're
that's
not pushing.
not it.
It's not poop going through the place?
it's a different one. No, different one. Emerging markets. It is. So here's the things about it that I love.
Yeah, Pipeline's great.
It is a wonderful economic game that uses a spatial element that is mean. It is a mean game. It is really easy to get yourself in a debt crisis where you're just taking more and more loans, and the loans are just going to crush you. Every time we play, somebody ends up with almost no money at the end of the game, just fighting to do it. But when you overcome that, it's that Age of Steam moment where, oh my God, guess what? I'm profitable now in this way. That's an amazing sense of accomplishment. It plays pretty fast. It's pretty easy to explain how the rules of the game go. And of the 3 games on my list, of the top games, it's the one that I find myself wanting to play the most.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And it's probably because the rules overhead is so slight and the economic depth of the game is so vast.
It's really good. I played it once. I really enjoyed it. I bought a copy. I have not played it since. My copy for several years.
And of all the games that we mentioned, it probably is the lowest in the Board Game Geek rankings.
Well, and Ryan Courtney, the designer, had kind of a big year with Trailblazers, which was like, a light game, but a big hit. Like,
I think Ryan Courtney's great. And the overall rank of the game right now is 458, which is ridiculous.
For it. Can we do a bonus round off the cuff?
Yeah, go.
Best expansion since the podcast started?
Oh, since the podcast started.
Grand Austria Hotel, Let's Waltz.
Yes, 100%.
100%.
Mine,
Let's Waltz.
No question about it.
Mine, I'm going to actually say is Railroad Evolution, which is the sequel, the fixing of Railroad Revolution.
It's a fix more than
but
it is.
But it is an official expansion. I remember playing. It was actually one of the first games I ever played with you guys, and it is a tremendous expansion. And it's a shame that it's not available really to people because like that turns Railroad Revolution. Like Railroad Revolution, it gets you like 95% of the way there, and with Evolution, it's like
that was the first game we played together.
It's a transformative expansion.
It was the first game you brought to us, and I played it. I now own it, and
it's my first review.
Yeah, I own it. And
it's wonderful.
The base game for it now.
Can I just say one game that we have not mentioned at all? Because we don't really play 2-player games, but
sure.
If I was to make a list of games I want to play more than any other game, it's Imperial Struggle. I think Imperial Struggle is an absolute masterpiece. Have you played it yet, Trey?
No.
You and I are going to spend a day and we're going to play Imperial Struggle. It's not a day, but it's 4 hours. It's a 4-hour 2-player game. It's
probably a 45-minute each.
I just think it's a masterpiece. I think you will become obsessed.
Does it still have
with
die rolls for coups kind of thing?
No. It's not like that at all.
Okay. That's what got me on Twilight Struggle.
It's nothing like Twilight Struggle outside of it's a 2-player, shifting polarities of control.
It's embarrassing I haven't played it.
It's a lot.
You will
it's a lot
be
like
obsessed with it.
It's a lot like Twilight.
But
it's also very different.
It doesn't have die
I love
rolls.
the cards in Twilight Struggle. I love the cards in Twilight
You're
Struggle.
going to love Imperial Struggle, and that to me is just like that was my favorite game of 2020.
It was on my top. It was in my top 3 as well.
It was your number 1 that year as well.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
it was a lot. It's a masterpiece. But what's the point of bringing a 2-player game up in our game night because it doesn't get played at game night? But it's sitting right there. I look at it every day, and I'm
it's
just
not a game night game.
Why am I not playing? Well, it's 2 players only. Yeah, you just
you got.
But it's just. I've never had more fun than my plays of that.
The problem is that we are just too popular to have to pick one friend.
Yeah.
How can you do that?
I do want to say that PAX Premier 2E I still think is incredible, as well as John Company I think is incredible, and both games that would have been in my list. And also I want to shout out Hallertau, which I still love, and I don't know why we don't play Hallertau. I think Hallertau is incredible.
I forgot about that one.
I love Hallertau.
Yeah.
It's just so fun.
A lot of great games that have happened over the past few years. I have to say, Carnegie, love it.
Yeah.
Audubon.
Yeah.
Audubon is really
fantastic.
That's
Audubon
that's a
And then
real
again,
fun
just
one.
like I always have a great time playing it is Mosaic. Which
Mosaic, I cooled on.
I'd like to
pretty
play
quickly.
the expansion. I haven't played the expansion.
I'm not
Hold
sure I
on that
love the
bit.
expansion. It
Oh,
actually
okay.
made it more like it made it more about the board and a little more military-ish, which is not actually what I wanted the game to be.
Yeah.
So, but I've always had a fun time playing Mosaic.
I like Mosaic quite a bit, and I like the expansion better
right.
more than
I'm
you
excited to try it. Babylonia? Classic.
Babylonia,
fine.
it's
Babylonia's
crazy.
incredible. The Crew?
Crew is great.
Cruise,
Come on.
right?
Come on.
Right?
Yeah.
Trick taking.
Yeah.
A lot of good games.
It's amazing. It has been just to take it down a notch for a second. It has been a real joy. Matt, thank you for starting the podcast with us.
Thank you for
This
keeping it alive. It
is-
literally would have died if not for you guys because I do not have the bandwidth to keep it going every week.
It has been,
every other week.
and to everybody listening, it has been an absolute joy to be doing this with you. Because that's what we feel like, and especially when we go to places like BGGCon and people come up and tell us that this podcast means a lot to them. It means a lot to us. We love this hobby. This is the thing.
But the woman who
that we
came
do
up
for
to us
fun.
at Strategicon who says that she runs marathons all over the world and she's listened to all 200 episodes of our podcast while running marathons, and I'm just like, that's amazing.
There was a woman at BGGCon that says, "I do not listen to your podcast, but I heard your voice." And my husband listens to your podcast while
that's
I'm
funny.
in the other room doing other things,
That's great.
and I know who you are.
Yeah.
It's an astonishing. It's a crazy hobby that we share, and in an age where people are more socially isolated than we have ever been before, and we've had a mind blowing disruption socially. The fact that we have a hobby that is primarily about getting together, sitting around a table, and sharing time together, and being really, really mean to each other is just wonderful.
Thank you for introducing this hobby to me, Tom.
Oh,
Hey, and thank you for welcoming me into your wild group
Yeah.
of personalities.
Thank
and
you
friends.
for being here.
100%. We have a great friend group. I'm truly thankful. Like I try to practice gratitude, and think of, like, no matter how bad a day is, like what are the things I'm really grateful for, and frequently you guys are that.
That's what Tim Fowler said. He's like, you've got a good group of friends.
Yeah.
They're like, there was something. I think he's got a good group too, but he's like, I could see, like, you've got a good, like, that's going to last a long time, and it's like it is.
And thanks to our co-hosts, we
I was about to say.
we couldn't do this podcast without the other people who have been coming on for 200 episodes and helping us review these games and talk about it. And it's been a bit of a revolving door over the past 2 years, and I appreciate everybody who's been a part of this and who's helped put together content for this podcast.
Everybody you've ever heard on this podcast are people that we care about and love, and it's
a podcast about our
play with
gaming
all
group.
time. It really
This
is.
is just our gaming group.
It really is. It really is. Except for Candace, who went off and formed her own podcast. She's dead to us.
Yeah.
What can you do?
Never
Can you do? We'll never
forgive her for that.
Never, ever. We had such a good time. Every time we go to BGGCon with Candace, we're taking.
Too late. You already dissed her.
Fair enough. We're having a fine. Go ahead. All right.
Can't pull it in now.
You,
You want to do the sign off for us, Tom?
you want me to do the sign off?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, let me just one more time. We have a contest. Win a copy of Soul. Last Days of what am I forgetting the name
Last
of?
Days of a Star.
Last Days of Star.
Contact.
Contact at gamebrainpod.com. Give us a paragraph of your favorite gaming experience you've had since 2019 and get it to us by the end of the year.
Contest in the subject line.
Board game content. Right?
Yeah, just put contest in there.
And make
Contest
sure
and
you put your
subjects.
email in the
And
bottom.
make sure you put your email in there, or else we won't be able to get you a reward if we like your story the most. Thank you so
Ladies and
much.
gentlemen, this has been a wonderful 200th episode. Remember that we have a YouTube channel every once in a while. We have a Facebook group and a Discord channel that are very, very hopping. If you have not joined Discord and checked us out, please do check us out there. And you've been listening to Game Brain, produced and edited by Matthew Robinson, Tom Donnelly, Trey Alsop, and Ben Mandelker. Special thanks to Daedalus for our incredible music. More on Daedalus at GameBrainPod.com. And thanks to Edamar Peleg for our incredible graphics. You can reach us by email at contact@GameBrainPod.com. And in fact, you want to do that so you can get in on the prize. Thanks for listening, and go play some games with friends, or go play some friends with games.
Wow.
Space Speed!